My beloved child, stop for a moment. I know you were not expecting this voice. I know you may have clicked without understanding why your heart felt pulled, unsettled, or suddenly alert. But listen to me now. This is not coincidence. This is not noise. This is me, speaking with urgency wrapped in love. I am not shouting to frighten you. I am not begging because I am powerless. I am calling because time matters, and you matter. There are moments when silence would be neglect, and this is not a moment where I can afford to be quiet with you. I see what you are walking through. I see the pressure you have normalized, the exhaustion you have learned to smile through, the warning signs you have brushed aside because stopping felt harder than continuing. You told yourself you would deal with it later. You promised yourself you would rest when things calmed down, change when life slowed, listen when the noise softened. But listen to me now, precious one. Later is not guaranteed the way you think it is. This is not about punishment. This is not about fear. This is about protection. There is a gentle alarm sounding in your spirit, and you have felt it. Late at night, when distractions fade, something inside you whispers, something isn't right. You feel it in your body, in your thoughts, in the quiet ache you can't name. That is not weakness. That is awareness. That is me reaching for you before damage becomes destiny. I am asking you to pause, not because you are failing, but because you are valuable. You are not replaceable. Your life is not expendable. Your heart is not meant to be worn down until nothing is left. And yet, that is the direction you have been drifting without realizing it. You have been strong for too long without being supported. You have been brave while bleeding. You have been functioning but not truly living. And I refuse to let you disappear slowly while telling yourself you are fine. Hear me clearly. This urgency is mercy. If there were no hope, I would not interrupt you. If the path ahead were harmless, I would not warn you. If your future were sealed in loss, I would not call your name so tenderly right now. The fact that you are hearing me is proof that change is still possible. I know you are tired of alarms. I know you are tired of emergencies. But this one is different because it is not coming from chaos. It is coming from love that sees further than you can. I see outcomes you cannot yet see. I see the toll this road will take if nothing shifts. And I also see the peace waiting if you listen now. Do not rush past this moment. Do not tell yourself you will come back later. Stay here with me. Let your breathing slow. Let your defenses soften. You do not need to understand everything yet. You only need to stay close. I am not here to condemn you. I am here to rescue what is precious before it breaks beyond repair. I am here because you are worth interrupting. Listen, my child. This is the beginning of awareness, and awareness is the doorway to life. My beloved child, I see the clock you have been pretending not to notice. Not the one on your wall, not the one on your phone, but the quiet ticking inside your spirit. The one that becomes louder when you slow down, the one you drown out with noise, busyness, and responsibility. You have told yourself there is still plenty of time. You have said, I'll deal with it soon, or just a little longer. But I know what you are avoiding, and I know why. You are not careless. You are afraid of what stopping might reveal. I see every moment you hesitated. Every time your heart nudged you to change direction, and your mind answered with excuses. You called it logic. You called it practicality. But beneath it was fear. Fear of loss. Fear of deception. Fear of facing truth you have kept buried because they hurt too much to touch. Listen to me gently now. Awareness is not accusation. I am not pointing out time to shame you. I am showing it to you because I love you too deeply to let you drift unaware. You have not missed your chance, but you are closer to the edge than you realize. You have been living as though endurance alone is enough, as though surviving means you are safe. But survival without alignment slowly drains the soul. You wake up tired not because you lack sleep, but because your spirit hath been running against the current for too long. That weariness you feel is not laziness. It is not failure. It is your inner self begging for honesty. I have watched you delay conversations that needed to happen. I have seen you stay where you were shrinking because leaving felt terrifying. I have noticed how you dismissed your own pain by comparing it to others, telling yourself you have no right to struggle. But pain does not disappear when you minimize it. It grows in silence. There are seasons when waiting is wise, and then there are moments when waiting becomes dangerous. This is not about rushing blindly. This is about recognizing when delay is costing you more than action ever could. I see the toll it is taking on your peace, your clarity, your joy. I see how your light has dimmed, not all at once, but slowly, subtly, until you barely noticed. You are not broken. You are depleted. And depletion does not mean you need to try harder. It means you need to listen more closely. I am speaking to you now because something must change, not later, not someday, but with awareness that begins now. Awareness does not demand perfection. It asks only for truth. You may be thinking, but I don't know what to do. That is all right. You are not required to have the full plan. You are only asked to stop pretending nothing is wrong. The first act of courage is not action. It is acknowledgement. I know you fear that if you stop, everything will fall apart. But hear me, what is falling apart was never meant to be held together by your strength alone. You have been propping up what should have been surrendered long ago, and the weight has been crushing you quietly. Time is not your enemy. Ignoring it is. I am not standing here with a stopwatch, ready to condemn you. I am standing here with open arms, asking you to look at your life with me instead of away from me. I want to show you what matters and what no longer does. I want to help you loosen your grip on what is draining you and prepare you for what can restore you. You are not behind, but you are being invited forward. Let this truth settle in your heart. The fact that you are hearing me now means you are still within reach of change, still within reach of peace, still within reach of a life that feels whole instead of heavy. Do not harden yourself against this awareness. Let it be gentle. Let it be honest. You do not need to run from it anymore. I am with you in this moment, and together we will face what time has been trying to tell you, without fear, without shame, and without delay. My precious one, listen carefully to me now, because what I am about to say will calm the storm you have been feeling inside. This urgency you sense is not fear. It is not panic. It is not due. It is protection. Fear rushes. Fear confuses. Fear overwhelms and paralyzes. But my voice, even when urgent, is steady. It does not steal your breath. It steadies it. If what you are feeling right now is a strange mix of alertness and comfort, that is because this is not anxiety speaking to you. This is love stepping in before harm takes root. You have lived long enough in a world where urgency usually means danger, pressure, or punishment. So when you sense it now, your body tenses. Your mind prepares to defend itself. But I want you to unlearn that response with me. There are moments when love must speak quickly because waiting would allow pain to grow. A parent pulls a child back from the road not to scare them, but to save them. And my child, that is what I am doing now. I am not warning you because something terrible is inevitable. I am warning you because something beautiful is still possible. You have mistaken this inner alarm as weakness, as overthinking, as emotional instability. You told yourself, "I'm just tired," or "I'm being dramatic." But that signal did not come from exhaustion. It came from wisdom planted within you. I placed it there so you would not lose yourself slowly while convincing yourself everything was fine. Protection often arrives before understanding. You do not always know what you are being shielded from in the moment. Sometimes you only realize later what could have happened if nothing intervened. That is why trust matters here. I see further than you. I see connections, consequences, and collisions long before they appear in your sight. You are not being rushed into destruction. You are being pulled away from it. I know you fear that listening will require more than you can give. You are already tired. You are already stretched thin. The thought of change feels exhausting. But hear this truth settle into your soul. Ignoring what hurts takes more energy than healing it. Suppressing truth is heavier than facing it with me. I am not asking you to fix everything. I am not demanding instant transformation. I am inviting you to stop fighting the very signal meant to keep you safe. This urgency is not asking you to run. It is asking you to wake up. There are paths that look stable but are slowly draining life from you. There are patterns that feel familiar but are quietly eroding your joy. There are relationships, habits, and expectations that you have carried out of loyalty, fear, or habit, even though they have been costing you deeply. I see it all, and I see how long you have endured without complaint. But endurance is not always a virtue when it keeps you in harm's reach. You have learned to associate peace with silence, but silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is avoidance. Sometimes it is resignation. True peace can speak firmly. True peace can interrupt. True peace can say, "This cannot continue," while still holding you gently. Let me reassure you of this. I am not angry with you. There is no disappointment in my voice. There is concern, yes, but it is the concern of love that refuses to abandon what is precious. You have not failed for getting here. You are not in trouble for needing this warning. You are cherished. If this were fear, it would tell you that you are alone. But notice, my voice keeps drawing you closer. Fear isolates. I invite. Fear shames. I reassure. Fear overwhelms. I guide. Pay attention to how your spirit responds when you listen to me. Even as I speak of urgency, something in you is settling. That is how you know this is not destruction calling your name. This is safety reaching for you. Stay open. Stay listening. You do not need to brace yourself. You do not need to run. Let this protection do what it was meant to do, keep you from harm, and lead you toward life. I'm here. I always have been. And I will not let you walk into danger unnoticed. My beloved child, I want you to hear this with your whole heart, not just your ears. You were never meant to carry this alone. Not the weight you wake up with. Not the pressure that tightens your chest when you think about the future. Not the quiet sadness you tuck away so others won't worry. None of it was designed for solitary shoulders. I see how you've been holding everything together. How you've become the dependable one. The strong one. The one who keeps going even when no one notices the cost. You tell yourself that others need you. That now is not the time to fall apart. So you keep moving. You keep functioning. You keep smiling when you want to rest. But strength without support slowly turns into isolation, and isolation quietly erodes the soul. You have mistaken independence for safety. Somewhere along the way, you learned that relying on anyone was risky. Maybe you were disappointed before. Maybe you were let down when you finally opened up. So you decided it was easier to carry the load yourself than risk being dropped again. I understand why you did that. But I never intended for your heart to become a storage place for unshared pain. You have been lifting burdens that were meant to be shared with me. And because you did not hand them over, they began to feel heavier than they truly are. Not because you are weak, but because you are human. Even the strongest vessel cracks when it is overfilled. I have watched you endure in silence. I have seen the moments when tears almost came, but you swallowed them back because there was no space, no permission, no time. I saw you choose composure over honesty again and again. And while the world may applaud that kind of resilience, I see the toll it takes on your inner life. You were not created to be unbreakable. You were created to be held. Let me speak truth into the place where you have been striving alone. Needing help does not diminish you. Admitting exhaustion does not make you a failure. Reaching for support does not mean you lack faith. It means you are finally listening to the design of your own soul. I am not disappointed in you for struggling. I am grieved that you felt you had to hide it. There are weights you carry that were never yours to manage. Expectations placed on you by others. Guilt that does not belong to you. Responsibilities you accepted because you feared saying no. You kept telling yourself, just a little longer, believing relief would come once you proved yourself worthy of rest. But rest is not a reward. It is a necessity. I am inviting you now to set something down. Not everything at once. Just one burden. One fear. One responsibility that has been draining you. You do not have to explain it perfectly. You do not have to justify why it hurts. Just acknowledge that it is heavy, and that you do not want to carry it alone anymore. You have been brave, my child. Braver than anyone knows. But bravery was never meant to be solitary confinement. Even the strongest hearts need a place to lean. And I have been here the entire time, waiting for you to let me shoulder what you could not. Listen closely. I am not asking you to stop caring. I'm asking you to stop carrying what is crushing you. There is a difference. When you try to hold everything together by yourself, you shrink your world to the size of your strength. But when you allow me in, your world expands to the size of my grace. And my grace does not run out. It does not tire. It does not abandon you when things get heavy. You do not need to be alone in your thoughts tonight. You do not need to solve every problem before you rest. You do not need to prove anything to earn support. You are already worthy of it. Let this truth sink in slowly. You are allowed to be held. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to stop pretending you are fine when you are not. Come closer. Lay the weight down. I am here, and I am strong enough to carry what you cannot. My beloved child, stay with me now. Do not drift. Do not let your mind wander away from this moment, because what you are hearing right now can still change everything. I know the pull to pause, to save this for later, to tell yourself you'll come back when you're calmer or less tired. But listen closely, this is not the moment to step away. This is the moment to lean in. There are turning points that arrive quietly, wrapped in tenderness rather than thunder. This is one of them. And if you remain here, if you allow these words to reach deeper than the surface, you will begin to feel something shift. Not all at once, not dramatically, but truly. Stay with me, because what unfolds next is what your heart has been asking for, even if you could not put it into words. I know you are used to carrying yourself through everything. You are used to being the one who endures, who adapts, who keeps going. So part of you may be resisting right now, saying, "I'm fine. I handled worse." But strength is not proven by how much pain you can ignore. Strength is revealed by your willingness to stop running from what needs care. You are standing at the edge of awareness, and awareness is sacred ground. If you walk away too soon, you will miss the clarity that comes after honesty. You will miss the relief that follows surrender. You will miss the peace that begins the moment you stop pretending you don't need help. I am not saying this to pressure you. I am saying it because I see how close you are. My child, you did not arrive here by accident. Every step, every delay, every moment that led you to this message was woven with intention. You are not listening to random words, you are being met. And this meeting matters more than you realize. There is a voice inside you that has been whispering, "Please don't let this be for nothing." Hear me answer that now. It is not for nothing. But you must stay present. You must allow this message to finish its work in you. Healing is not rushed, but it is interrupted when we leave too early. If these words are bringing a strange sense of relief, if something in you feels seen, comforted, or understood, let that be a sign. Let it remind you that you are not alone in this journey. And if this moment is touching your spirit, I invite you to acknowledge it. Bless this message with a like, not as a gesture to me, but as a quiet declaration that your heart is open to healing. And if you know someone who is carrying silent weight the way you have been, someone who smiles while struggling, someone who feels exhausted but unseen, share this message with them. You may be the answer to a prayer they have not spoken out loud yet. Stay with me, precious one. Do not rush to the end in your mind. Walk through this with me. There is a reason this message is unfolding the way it is. Each word is laying a foundation for what comes next. I am guiding you gently, step by step, toward clarity, toward peace, toward truth that does not accuse but restores. And the more you stay, the more you will recognize that this is not overwhelming. It is freeing. If you desire more moments like this, more words that steady your heart and remind you who you are, remain connected. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what your spirit needs in the days ahead. Think of it not as following content, but as choosing nourishment for your soul. You are doing something important right now by staying, by listening, by allowing yourself to be reached. Do not underestimate the power of that choice. Remain here with me. The urgency you felt when this began is not fading. It is transforming. And what it is transforming into is hope. My beloved child, I have been knocking in quiet ways long before this moment. Not with noise or force, but with gentle persistence. I have been speaking through subtle disruptions, through restlessness you could not explain, through doors that would not open no matter how hard you pushed. I have been present in the unease you felt when something looked right on the surface but felt wrong deep within. You thought those moments were inconveniences. You told yourself they were bad timing, bad luck, or personal weakness. But they were invitations, soft warnings, loving interruptions meant to slow you down before you lost your way entirely. I whispered through your exhaustion, when sleep no longer restored you. I nudged you through repeated frustration, when effort stopped producing joy. I spoke through your body, through tension, headaches, heaviness, the sense that something was off even when everything seemed fine. None of that was random. It was communication. I know you are skilled at pushing through discomfort. You learned how to override your own signals early on. You learned how to survive by staying functional. So when I knocked quietly, you kept going. You told yourself you were just tired, just stressed, just in a phase that would pass. But the knocking continued, because love does not stop trying when it sees danger ahead. You felt it when certain conversations drained you completely. You felt it when certain environments left you smaller than before. You felt it when habits you once enjoyed no longer gave life, only distraction. Those were not failures of gratitude. They were indicators of misalignment. I was trying to get your attention without overwhelming you. You see, my child, I do not always shout. Often I guide through resistance, through things not working the way you expected. I close doors not to frustrate you, but to protect you from paths that would cost you more than you could afford to lose. When something repeatedly blocks you, it is not always because you lack strength. Sometimes it is because you are being redirected. You mistook resistance for rejection. But many times, it was rescue. I have watched you fight for things that were slowly draining you, simply because letting go felt like failure. I saw how you kept knocking on doors I had already closed, believing persistence alone would make them right for you. But not every closed door is meant to be forced open. Some are meant to free you. The quiet knocking was also present in moments of longing, those sudden thoughts that there must be more than this. Those moments when your heart whispered, "This can't be all there is." That was not dissatisfaction. That was awakening. A reminder that you were made for fullness, not survival. I know you tried to silence that voice too. You distracted yourself. You filled your time. You stayed busy so you wouldn't have to feel it. But longing is not your enemy. It is a compass, and yours has been pointing you back toward me. You are not wrong for missing something you cannot name. You are not ungrateful for wanting deeper peace. You are responding to a call that has been echoing quietly inside you, waiting for you to stop long enough to listen. That is why this moment feels different. The knocking has become clearer, not louder in anger, but clearer in direction. You are beginning to recognize patterns you once ignored. You are seeing connections you once dismissed. You are realizing that what you thought were random struggles were actually invitations to change course. This awareness is a gift. Do not resist it. I am not exposing these things to overwhelm you. I am revealing them so you no longer have to wander confused, wondering why things feel heavy. Clarity brings relief, even when it requires honesty. You are not being punished. You are being guided. Every quiet knock was an act of care. Every interruption was an attempt to keep you aligned with life. And now that you are listening, I will not abandon you in uncertainty. I will show you what each signal meant, step by step, gently and clearly. Stay open. Let the knocking turn into conversation. You do not have to figure this out alone anymore. I am here. And now, you are listening. My beloved child, the danger was never the storm you feared. It was the delay you convinced yourself was harmless. Storms are visible. You can prepare for them. You can brace yourself, seek shelter, call for help. But delay is quiet. It disguises itself as patience, as wisdom, as waiting for the right time. And slowly, without raising alarms, it moves you further from safety while telling you everything is under control. I want you to understand this clearly, without fear and without shame. You were not destroyed by one wrong choice. You were not undone by one mistake. What has been wearing you down is the long pause between knowing and acting. The space where you felt something was wrong, but kept going anyway. The space where truth tapped on your heart, and you asked it to wait. You delayed because you hoped things would improve on their own. You delayed because confrontation felt uncomfortable. You delayed because stopping meant feeling pain you had buried under routine. And I do not condemn you for that. I see your heart. I know you were trying to survive the best way you knew how. But survival mode is not meant to be permanent. Each time you ignored that inner nudge, you taught yourself to tolerate less peace. Each time you postponed honesty, you reinforced patterns that drained you. Not because you are weak, but because delay slowly normalizes what should have been addressed. You kept telling yourself, "It's not that bad yet." But listen to me now. Harm does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, just a little longer, until the cost has multiplied. I see the places where you stayed too long. Situations that asked too much and gave too little. Relationships that required you to shrink to keep the peace. Habits that numbed you temporarily but stole clarity in return. None of these destroyed you instantly. They eroded you gradually. That erosion is what I am addressing now. I am not here to replay your past with accusation. I am here to interrupt the future if it continues on the same path. Delay does not mean you are doomed. It means there is still time, if you listen. There is a moment when wisdom stops waiting and begins moving. You are approaching that moment. Not with panic, but with clarity. The longer you stay where you are while knowing something must change, the heavier your spirit becomes. That heaviness is not punishment. It is feedback. You are not meant to live in constant tension, constantly convincing yourself that this is just how life is. Life can be challenging without being crushing, demanding without being depleting, purposeful without being suffocating. Delay kept you in places where your soul was gasping quietly for air. I know part of you fears that acting now will make everything collapse. You worry about consequences. You worry about disappointing others. You worry about what will be exposed if you finally stop pretending. But hear me gently. Continuing down a draining path does not protect you from collapse. It only postpones it. I would rather you face discomfort with me than face devastation alone. The storm you feared was change. But the real danger was staying still while your inner world was crying out for movement. Growth always feels disruptive at first, but stagnation groans from the inside. You are not in trouble for waiting, but you are being invited to stop waiting now. This invitation is not harsh. It is firm because it matters. I am calling you out of delay not to rush you into chaos, but to guide you into alignment. When you move in truth, even difficult transitions carry peace beneath them. Let me say this clearly, so it settles deep within you. You have not ruined anything beyond repair. You have not waited too long to be helped. But you must listen now with intention, not passivity. Delay does not define you. Awareness does. And now that you are aware, you are no longer powerless. I am here to walk with you as you begin to move, not recklessly, not fearfully, but wisely and courageously. You do not have to outrun the storm. You only have to stop delaying your way into it. Stay with me. We are not done yet. My beloved child, I want to lift a burden off your heart by speaking a truth you have misunderstood for far too long. You are not running out of grace. You are running out of strength. And those two are not the same. Grace does not diminish because you are tired. It does not withdraw because you have struggled. It does not expire because you have delayed. My grace is not measured by your energy or your consistency. It flows without depletion. What is fading is your human capacity to keep holding everything together on your own. You have been blaming yourself for feeling worn down. You told yourself that if you were stronger, more disciplined, more faithful, you wouldn't feel this exhausted. But exhaustion is not a moral failure. It is a signal that you have been relying on yourself beyond what you were designed to sustain. I see how you push through days when your body begs for rest and your mind feels foggy with overload. I see how you keep commitments even when your soul is whispering that something is wrong. You do not collapse because you are weak. You collapse because you have been strong for too long without renewal. Grace has been surrounding you the entire time, holding you together even when you felt like you were unraveling. If grace were gone, you would not still be standing. The fact that you are here, listening, breathing, aware, that is grace at work. But strength, when not replenished, fades. You have been trying to draw water from an empty well, wondering why it feels harder every day. You have been demanding endurance from a body and spirit that were asking for care. And instead of responding with compassion, you accused yourself of laziness, of failing, of not measuring up. Listen to me now. I never asked you to function without rest. I never asked you to give endlessly without receiving. I never asked you to prove your worth through exhaustion. That expectation did not come from me. You are not meant to live on fumes. There is a difference between perseverance and depletion. Perseverance is fueled by purpose and supported by grace. Depletion is what happens when you keep going without listening to your limits. You crossed that line not because you didn't care, but because you cared too much about everyone else and not enough about the condition of your own soul. I see how your joy has thinned, how laughter feels farther away, how things that once excited you now feel heavy. That is not because you have lost your passion. It is because your strength has been drained by carrying more than you were meant to. Grace has been compensating for your lack of strength, quietly holding you up. But even grace invites rest. Even grace calls you to stop striving and start receiving. You are not failing because you need to pause. You are wise for noticing you cannot continue this way. I am not disappointed in your limits. I designed them. Limits are not flaws. They are boundaries that protect what is precious. When you ignore them, you burn out. When you honor them, you heal. I want you to release the belief that needing rest means you are falling behind. Sometimes rest is the most productive act of obedience. It realigns you with truth. It restores clarity. It reminds you that you are not the source. You are the recipient. You do not need more willpower. You need replenishment. You do not need to push harder. You need to lean closer. Grace is abundant. It is steady. It is ready to carry what you cannot. But it does not demand that you keep pretending you are stronger than you are. It invites honesty. It invites surrender. Let me hold what you have been gripping so tightly. Let me supply what your strength can no longer provide. You do not have to earn this support. You already belong. Rest is not quitting. It is returning to me, to yourself, to the rhythm you were created to live in. You are not running out of grace, my child. You are being invited to stop running out of strength. My beloved child, I need you to listen with openness now, not with fear. The path you are on ends differently than you think. Not because you are incapable, not because you are destined for loss, but because the direction you have been moving carries consequences you have not fully seen yet. I do not reveal this to scare you. I reveal it because love looks ahead and warns before harm arrives. You have been interpreting the signs around you as temporary discomfort, assuming that if you endure long enough, things will somehow resolve on their own. But endurance cannot correct direction. Only awareness and choice can do that. You have been hoping that effort would replace alignment, that if you just tried harder, stayed longer, sacrificed more, the outcome would improve. But effort in the wrong direction only takes you further from where you are meant to be. I see the destination of this road clearly. even if it is still hidden from your view. What lies ahead is not sudden disaster. It is slow erosion of peace, of identity, of joy. It is waking up one day and realizing you no longer recognize yourself. It is discovering that you gave your best years to something that could never truly give back. That is the ending I am trying to protect you from. You have been telling yourself that things will change once circumstances improve. But the truth is, circumstances often change only after we do. Waiting for the environment to shift while you remain the same keeps you stuck in a cycle that quietly drains you. I see how this path trains you to accept less than you deserve. Less rest, less clarity, less fulfillment. It teaches you to tolerate constant tension, to normalize emotional fatigue, to lower your expectations of what life can feel like. Over time, you begin to believe that this is simply adulthood, responsibility, reality. But this was never the life I envisioned for you. You were not created to merely cope. You were created to live with purpose, connection, and peace beneath the effort. Yes, there are seasons of challenge, but a life that continually empties you without restoring you is not a season. It is a warning. I know part of you resists this message because you have invested so much already. Time, energy, emotion. Walking away feels like admitting loss, but staying on a path that leads away from life just to justify past investment only deepens the cost. I am not asking you to make a decision in panic. I'm asking you to see clearly, to stop romanticizing a future that will not arrive if nothing changes, to stop telling yourself that you can endure your way into peace. The version of you who continues down this road becomes smaller, quieter, more resigned. Not because you lose your worth, but because you lose space to breathe. And I do not want that for you. There is another ending available, but it requires honesty now. You may be afraid of the unknown that comes with change, but the unknown holds possibility. The known path you are on holds predictability, and the predictability is what concerns me, because I see how it ends if you keep going without course correction. You are not trapped. You are not too late. You are not powerless. You are simply standing at a crossroads, even if you have not named it yet. One direction leads to continued depletion dressed up as responsibility. The other leads to discomfort now, but life later. I'm asking you to consider which ending you truly want. Do not confuse familiarity with safety. Do not confuse stability with health. A path can be well worn and still be wrong for you. I'm not forcing you. I'm informing you. Because love does not stay silent when it sees danger ahead. Love speaks, even when the truth is uncomfortable. And love stays present while you process what you have heard. I am with you at this crossroads. I will not abandon you if you choose change. And I will not stop loving you if you hesitate. But I would be failing you if I did not tell you this clearly. The path you are on ends differently than you hope. And you still have time to choose another way. My beloved child, let me speak something steady into your heart now, because your mind may be racing after what you just heard. If this situation were hopeless, I would not be warning you. If the outcome were already sealed, I would not be speaking with you like this. The very fact that I am reaching you now is proof that redemption is still within reach. I do not interrupt lives that cannot be changed. I do not call out to hearts that are beyond restoration. I do not warn those who no longer matter. I am speaking because you matter deeply, and because what lies ahead is not fixed in stone. You may be tempted to hear urgency as finality, but urgency is not the sound of doors slamming shut. It is the sound of doors still open, asking you to walk through before they quietly close on their own. There is a difference. I see how quickly your thoughts turn inward, how you begin to replay your past, measuring your mistakes, wondering if you have already done too much damage. But hear me clearly. I would not be guiding you if it were too late. I would not be showing you truth if there were no way forward. Exposure without hope would be cruelty, and I am not cruel. You are not being warned because you are failing. You are being warned because you are loved. There are moments when silence would be abandonment. Imagine a parent watching a child drift toward danger and choosing not to speak because they do not want to upset them. That would not be kindness. It would be neglect. My urgency is not rooted in impatience. It is rooted in care that refuses to look away. I know you fear that this message means you have disappointed me. That is not true. I am not disappointed. I am attentive. I am not condemning. I am guiding. I am not pulling away. I am drawing closer. Hope is not something you have to manufacture. It is already present in this moment. Hope is the reason you are hearing clarity instead of chaos. Hope is the reason this message feels firm but not crushing. Hope is the reason your spirit feels stirred instead of destroyed. If there were no hope, you would feel numb. You would feel abandoned. You would feel resigned. But instead, something in you is waking up. Something is realizing that change is still possible, that life does not have to continue on autopilot. That awakening is not accidental. It is a response to grace. I am not asking you to leap blindly into the unknown. I am asking you to trust that the one who sees the end from the beginning would not call you forward without a way to carry you. You do not need to see the full path yet. You only need to believe that there is one. Hopelessness tells you, what's done is done. Hope tells you, something new can still begin. And hope is speaking to you now. I know the word emergency has made you brace yourself, as if destruction is imminent. But sometimes the emergency is not about what will happen to you. It is about what could be lost if nothing changes. Potential, peace, wholeness. These things matter to me. I see the version of you that emerges when you choose alignment over endurance. I see how your shoulders lighten when you stop carrying what was never meant to be yours. I see your spirit breathe again when truth replaces denial. That future is not imaginary. It is available, but it requires your participation. I am not here to save you without you. I am here to walk with you as you respond. You are not powerless in this moment. You are not a victim of timing. You are being given an opportunity, a sacred pause where direction can be adjusted. Take comfort in this truth. Warnings are not given to destroy hope, but to preserve it. And the hope I hold for you is not fragile. It is resilient. It can survive change. It can survive discomfort. It can even survive fear. Do not mistake my seriousness for rejection. My seriousness is commitment. I am invested in you, in your future, in your healing. And if there were no hope, I would not be here with you now. But I am here, and that means everything is not lost. My beloved child, there is something we must speak about gently but honestly now. This is the moment you stop minimizing your pain. Not because it has defined you, but because ignoring it has been costing you more than you realize. You learned early how to downplay what hurts. You told yourself others have it worse. You reminded yourself to be grateful. You trained your heart to shrink its own voice so it would not seem dramatic, needy, or inconvenient. And while gratitude is beautiful, silence in the face of pain slowly becomes a wound. You have been surviving by comparison instead of truth. Every time you said, "It's not that bad," while your chest felt heavy, you taught yourself to distrust your own experience. Every time you laughed something off that cut you deeply, you buried a piece of yourself. And those buried parts did not disappear. They waited. Pain does not demand attention immediately. It is patient. It settles quietly into the corners of your life and waits until exhaustion lowers your defenses. Then it surfaces as irritability, numbness, anxiety, or a sadness you cannot explain. You thought something was wrong with you, but nothing is wrong. You are simply carrying what was never released. I am not asking you to dwell on pain. I am asking you to acknowledge it. Minimizing your hurt did not make you stronger. It made you tired. It required constant effort to keep convincing yourself that what you felt did not matter. And every time you dismissed your own needs, you reinforced the belief that your inner world was less important than keeping everything else running. But your heart matters to me. I see the moments that shaped this habit. Times when speaking up led to dismissal. Times when vulnerability was met with silence. Times when you realized that being easy felt safer than being honest. So you adapted. You learned to endure quietly. I do not blame you for that. I understand it. But I am inviting you into something new now. You do not have to justify your pain for it to be real. You do not need permission to feel what you feel. You do not need to wait until it becomes unbearable before you acknowledge it. Your pain deserves attention simply because it exists. When you minimize your hurt, you also minimize your need for healing. And healing cannot happen where honesty is withheld. I am not overwhelmed by what you feel. I am not burdened by your honesty. You cannot shock me with your sadness or exhaust me with your grief. I already see it. I am simply asking you to see it too. This is not about assigning blame. It is about restoring truth. Pain is a signal, not a verdict. It points to where care is needed. And the longer you ignore it, the louder it becomes. You have been telling yourself to push through, to be resilient, to not make a big deal out of things. But there is a difference between resilience and repression. Resilience allows you to feel and still move forward. Repression forces you to move forward without feeling, and that fractures the soul over time. You are allowed to admit that something hurt you. You are allowed to name the disappointment, the loss, the unmet need. Doing so does not make you weak. It makes you whole. I want you to imagine what it would feel like to stop arguing with your own pain. To stop explaining it away. To simply say, "This mattered to me." That simple acknowledgement can begin to untangle years of tension. You do not have to relive every wound right now. This is not about opening everything at once. It is about giving yourself permission to be honest, even if only in small ways. I am here to hold that honesty with you. I am not rushing you. I am not judging what you reveal. I am creating a space where truth can breathe. When you stop minimizing your pain, you make room for healing that actually reaches the root. Not temporary relief. Not surface-level coping. Real restoration. Let this be the moment you choose honesty over endurance. Compassion over comparison. Truth over silence. You do not have to carry this alone anymore. And you do not have to pretend it never hurt. My beloved child, do not turn away now. I know the pull to stop, to rest your mind, to tell yourself you have heard enough for today. But listen closely. This is the moment many step away just before clarity settles in. Stay with me. You are closer than you realize to understanding what your heart has been trying to say for a long time. I am asking you to remain present, not because I need your attention, but because you need this space. There is a truth unfolding gently, layer by layer, and if you leave too soon, it will feel unfinished, like waking from a dream before the meaning becomes clear. What you are experiencing right now is not pressure, it is alignment beginning to form. You have already done something brave by listening this far. You have allowed yourself to slow down. You have let honesty surface. And now, something deeper is ready to emerge, something that brings relief, not heaviness. Today, let it come. I know your mind may be racing ahead, wondering what this all means for your life. You may be trying to solve everything at once, to predict outcomes, to prepare for change. But I am not asking you to leap forward. I am asking you to stay grounded right here, where clarity is forming quietly and steadily. You have spent so long reacting to life that stillness feels unfamiliar. But stillness is where truth becomes audible. If you leave now, you may carry awareness without direction. But if you stay, understanding will follow. Peace will follow. And peace is not something you need to chase. It is something that arrives when you stop running from yourself. I want you to know this: finishing this journey matters. Not because of the words themselves, but because of what they are doing inside you. There is a reason this message is structured the way it is. Each moment builds upon the last, gently leading you toward a place where your heart can finally exhale. Do not deprive yourself of that release. If you feel seen right now, if something in you feels less alone than it did before, acknowledge it. You are not imagining it. This is connection, and connection heals in ways effort never could. If these words are speaking to you, bless this message with a like. Let it be a quiet agreement between you and me that your heart is open to truth and restoration. And if you know someone who is standing at the same crossroads, someone who feels exhausted, confused, or silently overwhelmed, share this message with them. Your simple act could be the lifeline they didn't know how to ask for. And I invite you to stay connected beyond this moment. Subscribe, not out of obligation, but as an act of care for your inner life. There will be days ahead when you need reassurance, clarity, and peace again, and you do not need to walk those days alone. You may not realize it yet, but you are already changing. Not dramatically, not visibly, but internally. The way you are listening now is different. The way your heart is responding is different. That is the beginning. Do not click away thinking you will remember this later. Life will try to rush back in. Distractions will return. But this moment, this quiet awakening, is precious. Guard it by staying present. I am not finished speaking to you. And more importantly, your heart is not finished opening. Stay with me until the end. Let this be a complete journey, not a fragmented one. There is peace waiting for you, not at the finish line of effort, but at the end of honesty. You are closer than you think, and I am right here with you. My beloved child, I want you to understand something deeply now, because this truth changes how you interpret everything you are experiencing. I'm interrupting you because I love you too much to let you continue unaware. Not because you are failing, not because you are in danger of being rejected, but because you are too precious to be left drifting. Interruptions are rarely comfortable. They break rhythm. They disrupt plans. They force attention. And because of that, you may have felt annoyed, unsettled, or resistant when life slowed you down or when this message entered your path. But what you experienced was not intrusion. It was intervention. You see, neglect looks like silence. Love speaks. I do not interrupt what does not matter. I do not disrupt what I am indifferent to. I step in where something valuable is at risk of being lost. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, over time. And that is what I saw happening to you. You were not on the verge of a dramatic collapse. You were on the verge of gradual disappearance, losing parts of yourself through constant compromise, overextension, and quiet resignation. And I will not watch that happen without reaching for you. I know interruptions can feel inconvenient. You had plans. You had momentum. You were managing. But managing is not the same as thriving. And thriving requires attention to what is being neglected beneath the surface. This interruption came with discomfort because truth often does. But discomfort is not harm. It is the signal that something important is being brought into the light. You are not being exposed to shame. You are being invited into clarity. I see how you have been trying to keep everything steady, even as your inner world felt unstable. You were afraid that if you stopped, things would unravel. But I want you to hear this clearly. What is sustained by denial is already unraveling. It just hasn't shown itself yet. Interruptions allow course correction before damage becomes irreversible. You may have wondered why certain patterns kept repeating, why the same exhaustion returned no matter how much you rested, why relief felt temporary. Those were signs that surface solutions were being applied to deeper needs. I interrupted to draw your attention to the root, not to add another task to your list. You have not been singled out because you are weak. You have been singled out because you are capable of more life than you are currently experiencing. I see what you could become if you stop settling for survival. Love does not wait until everything breaks. Love steps in early. I know part of you fears that this interruption means everything must change at once. That is not true. Interruption is not demolition. It is redirection. You are not being asked to destroy your life. You are being invited to adjust it before it collapses under its own weight. You are allowed to question this moment. You are allowed to feel unsettled. Those reactions do not offend me. They tell me you are processing honestly. But do not confuse discomfort with danger. This interruption is safe. Think of how often you wished someone would notice you were struggling without you having to say it. How often you hoped someone would step in, ask the right question, slow you down. I am doing that now. You do not have to defend yourself here. You do not have to explain why you didn't act sooner. You do not have to justify how you got here. This is not a courtroom. It is a place of care. I interrupted because your heart was getting tired of being ignored, even by you. And I love you too much to let that continue. Let yourself accept this interruption as kindness. Let it be the pause that protects you. Let it be the moment you stop drifting and start choosing with awareness. I am not here to rush you. I am here to walk with you through what this interruption reveals. And I will stay with you as long as it takes. Because when love interrupts, it is always to save, not to harm. And you, my child, are worth saving every time. My beloved child, there is a door in your life that you have been afraid to close. You know which one it is, even if you have never said it out loud. It is the door you keep checking. The one you leave slightly open just in case. The one you return to when you feel uncertain or lonely. And I need you to hear this with gentleness and clarity. That door is draining you. You have convinced yourself that keeping it open is wise. You told yourself it is safer to not fully let go, that closing it would be too final, too painful, too risky. You feared that shutting it would mean admitting something you were not ready to face. That what is on the other side no longer gives life the way it once did. So you linger. You revisit. You give it just enough attention to keep it alive. And each time you do, something in you weakens a little more. I am not angry with you for this. Attachment is human. Letting go is difficult, especially when the door once led to comfort, identity, or hope. But what once sheltered you is now costing you. And staying loyal to what is draining you is not faithfulness. It is self-neglect. You keep telling yourself that closing the door would hurt too much. But I want you to notice something. Keeping it open has been hurting you slowly, every day. The pain of release is sharp but brief. The pain of attachment is quiet but endless. That door might be a relationship that no longer honors who you are becoming. It might be a role you have outgrown but feel guilty in leaving. It might be a habit that once numbed pain but now keeps you from healing. It might be a version of yourself you are afraid to outgrow. Whatever it is, I see it clearly. You are not weak for struggling to let go. You are human. But you are also stronger than you think, and you are not meant to stay tethered to what is pulling you backward. You fear emptiness on the other side of the door. You worry that if you close it, there will be nothing waiting for you. But hear me. I do not ask you to close doors without preparing something better. I do not ask you to release without intending to restore. The reason you feel so tired is not because you are doing too much. It is because you are divided. Part of you is trying to move forward, and part of you keeps reaching back. The division drains energy faster than any workload ever could. You cannot walk fully into what is ahead while holding on to what is behind you. I know you are afraid that closing the door will feel like failure, that it will mean admitting something didn't work, or that you stayed too long. But staying attached to something that is draining you does not rewrite the past. It only prolongs the cost. Closure is not defeat. It is clarity. When you close this door, you are not erasing what it meant to you. You are honoring what it was without allowing it to define what comes next. Gratitude and release can coexist. I am not rushing you to slam it shut in fear or anger. I am inviting you to close it in peace, with understanding. To say, this served me once, but it no longer does. That is not betrayal. That is growth. I will not ask you to close it alone. I will stand with you in the discomfort, in the grief, in the quiet aftermath. And I will help you face the silence that follows, because that silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space for healing. Space for clarity. Space for something new to begin. You have been afraid of what you might lose by closing the door. But I want you to consider what you have already been losing by keeping it open. Your energy, your peace, your sense of self. Letting go is not about rejection. It is about protection. Trust me, my child. When you close the door that is draining you, you make room for life to flow again. And I will be with you when your hand reaches for the handle. My beloved child, there is a truth I want you to face with compassion for yourself, not judgment. You have confused familiar pain with safety. What you know has begun to feel safer than what could heal you, simply because it is predictable. Familiar pain does not shock you anymore. You know how to manage it. You know how to brace for it. You have learned its patterns, its timing, its limits. And because of that, it feels controllable. But control is not the same as peace. You stayed where it hurt because at least you knew what to expect. The unknown frightened you more than the ache you already understood. You feared that change might bring disappointment, chaos, or loss. So you told yourself that enduring what you know is wiser than risking what you don't. That is not foolishness. It is survival instinct. But survival instinct is not meant to govern your entire life. You have been settling for pain that feels manageable instead of stepping toward healing that feels uncertain. I see how this pattern formed. Pain once arrived unexpectedly, and it wounded you deeply. After that, you promised yourself you would never be caught off guard again. So you chose situations where pain was familiar, predictable, and limited. You accepted emotional ceilings because at least they did not collapse beneath you. But safety built on pain is not true safety. It is containment. Familiar pain keeps you from hoping. It keeps expectations low. It teaches you to say, "This is just how it is," even when your heart knows there could be more. Over time, you stop asking for better because asking feels risky. Wanting feels dangerous. So you settle. But you were not created to live in emotional survival mode. True safety does not require you to numb yourself. It does not demand constant vigilance. It does not ask you to shrink or compromise your inner truth. True safety allows you to exhale fully, without bracing for impact. The reason healing feels threatening is because healing requires trust. And trust feels risky when you have been hurt. Pain you know feels safer than healing you have not yet experienced. But safety that costs you your growth is not protection. It is limitation. I am not blaming you for choosing familiar pain. I understand why you did. It kept you functioning when you had no better options. But now, something inside you is waking up, whispering that this is no longer enough. That whisper is not ingratitude. It is readiness. You are not betraying your past by wanting more. You are honoring your future. Familiar pain has taught you endurance. But healing will teach you freedom. Endurance helps you survive. Freedom will help you live. I know the idea of stepping into something unfamiliar feels unsettling. You worry that you might be disappointed again. That hope might cost you. But hear me gently. Staying where you are has already been costing you, quietly and continuously. Healing does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means pain will no longer be your foundation. It will no longer define what you tolerate or what you believe you deserve. You have been living with walls up, calling, and boundaries. But walls built to keep pain out also keep life from getting in. True boundaries protect your heart without isolating it. I am inviting you to question the agreement you made with familiar pain. To ask yourself, is this really safety, or is it simply what I've learned to survive? That question alone begins to loosen its hold on you. You do not need to rush into the unknown. You only need to stop confusing discomfort with danger. Growth feels uncomfortable because it stretches you beyond old limits. That discomfort is not a warning. It is a sign of expansion. I will not lead you into harm. I will walk with you into healing. Step by step. Gently. At your pace. You do not have to live the rest of your life managing pain you already understand. There is a different way of living available to you now, one rooted in truth, peace, and restoration. Let go of the belief that pain is safety, and allow me to show you what safety truly feels like. My beloved child, I want you to hear this invitation without fear, without pressure, and without the weight of expectation you so often place on yourself. I can heal what you are willing to surrender. Not what you pretend does not exist. Not what you manage perfectly. But what you place honestly into my hands. Surrender is not weakness. It is trust made visible. You have been trying to heal while still holding tightly to control. You have been asking for peace while gripping fear. You have been hoping for relief while refusing to release the very things that wound you. And I understand why. Control feels like safety when you have been hurt before. Letting go feels like risk. But healing does not flow through clenched fists. I am not asking you to surrender everything at once. I am not asking you to bear wounds you are not ready to name. I am asking you to begin where you are, with honesty instead of perfection. Surrender does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop caring alone. You have been guarding your pain, believing that if you keep it close, you can manage it better. But pain was never meant to be managed indefinitely. It was meant to be healed. And healing requires exposure to light. I know you fear that if you surrender, you will lose yourself. That if you release control, everything will fall apart. But the opposite is true. What is falling apart is what you have been forcing yourself to hold together without support. You have been strong, my child. But strength without surrender becomes strain. I see how you analyze everything, replay conversations, rehearse outcomes, prepare for every possible disappointment. You think this vigilance protects you, but it has been exhausting you. Surrender is not giving up responsibility. It is giving up the illusion that you must do everything alone. I can only heal what you allow me to touch. There are parts of you that are still hidden, not from me but from yourself. Wounds you learned to lock away because acknowledging them felt too painful, or because others once dismissed them. You learned to survive by compartmentalizing, by saying, "I'll deal with it later." But later has arrived, gently and firmly. You do not have to explain your pain eloquently. You do not have to justify why it hurts. You only have to stop resisting the truth of it. Surrender sounds frightening because it feels like loss. But what you are being asked to release is not your identity, it is the burden that hath been distorting it. You are not losing yourself. You are reclaiming yourself. Healing is not passive. It is an act of courage. It is choosing to trust me more than you trust your defenses. And I will never misuse what you place in my care. You may be wondering where surrender begins. It begins with one honest admission: this hurts. Or, I cannot do this alone anymore. Or even, I don't know how to let go, but I want to. The desire is enough to open the door. I do not rush healing. I respect your pace. I honor your boundaries. I move gently because I know how tender these places are. But I cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You have been carrying pain like proof of endurance. But pain is not a badge you must keep to show how far you've come. You are allowed to put it down. Let me carry what you no longer can. Let me tend to what you have been avoiding. Let me restore what has been worn thin by years of self-protection. Surrender does not mean you will never struggle again. It means you will not struggle alone. It means when pain arises, it will meet compassion instead of silence. You are safe to surrender with me. I do not shame what you bring. I do not reject what is messy. I heal with patience, faithfulness, and love that does not withdraw. Come closer. Open your hands. Even slightly. That is enough for now. I can heal what you are willing to surrender. And I am ready when you are. My beloved child, what you are standing in right now, the tension, the discomfort, the clarity mixed with uncertainty, this is the turning point you have been asking me for, even if it does not look the way you imagined. You prayed for Jind, for peace, for relief. And when the answer arrived as interruption instead of ease, you wondered if I had misunderstood you. I did not. You asked for transformation, not knowing that transformation often begins with disruption. You thought a turning point would feel empowering immediately. You expected confidence, certainty, and clear steps forward. But most turning points begin quietly, with an inner shift that feels unsettling because it rearranges what you have relied on. Before anything changes around you, something must change within you. That is what is happening now. You have been waiting for circumstances to improve so you could finally feel different. But I am changing you first, so that circumstances no longer control your peace. This moment is not the reward at the end of the journey. It is the doorway into a new way of living. I know it feels uncomfortable to realize that the life you prayed to escape is the very life being challenged right now. You wanted relief, not confrontation. But confrontation with truth is often the greatest relief you will ever experience. You are not being punished by this moment. You are being positioned. Every prayer you whispered for clarity is being answered with awareness. Every cry for peace is being answered with honesty. Every request for growth is being answered with an invitation to let go of what no longer fits who you are becoming. This is the moment where excuses lose their power and truth gains its voice. I see how tempted you are to interpret this season as loss. You see things falling away, beliefs being questioned, attachments loosening. But what you are losing is not essential, it is excess. It is weight you carried because you thought you had to, not because it gave life. Turning points rarely feel gentle at first. They feel like standing between two worlds, the one you know and the one you cannot fully see yet. And that in-between space can feel frightening. But it is also sacred. It is where choice becomes possible. You are no longer asleep to what hurts you. You are no longer numb to what drains you. You are no longer unaware of what must change. That awareness is irreversible. And that is why this moment matters so deeply. You may be tempted to go back to what is familiar simply because it feels easier. But easy does not mean right. Familiar does not mean safe. You can't unknow what you now know. You cannot return to unconscious endurance without paying a higher price. This is not pressure. This is clarity. I am not demanding that you fix everything today. I am asking you to honor what has been revealed. Turning points are not about speed. They are about direction. Even a small shift in direction changes the destination entirely. You have been waiting for permission to choose differently. Consider this your permission. You are allowed to say no where you once said yes out of fear. You are allowed to rest where you once pushed yourself to exhaustion. You are allowed to release what no longer aligns with the truth you are waking up to. This turning point is not dramatic on the outside, but it is profound on the inside. It is the moment you stop betraying your inner truth to maintain outer stability. And that choice, though difficult, leads to peace you have not yet experienced. I am with you in this threshold moment. I am not rushing you across it. I am standing beside you, steady and patient, while you gather the courage to step forward. You asked me to change your life. I began by changing how you see it. Do not underestimate what is happening right now. This is not confusion. It is transition. This is not breakdown. It is breakthrough forming quietly beneath the surface. This is the turning point you prayed for. And you are not facing it alone. My beloved child, listen closely now, because this is the place where many walk away too soon. Not because they do not care, but because what comes next requires courage that feels unfamiliar. Stay with me. Do not pull back. Do not close your heart. What you are sensing right now is not overload. It is proximity. You are standing very close to the clarity you have been longing for. This is the moment when resistance often rises. You may feel tired, distracted, or tempted to say, "I've heard enough for now." But hear me gently. This is not the time to stop listening. This is the moment where truth begins to settle, not just inform you. And if you leave before it settles, you will carry questions that could have become answers. I am asking you to stay present because something important is happening beneath the surface. You have allowed yourself to see what hurts. You have recognized what drains you. You have acknowledged what must change. Now comes the part where you let that awareness reshape you. And that part can feel unsettling because it requires letting go of familiar ways of thinking, coping, and protecting yourself. This is where many choose familiarity over freedom. You may feel a subtle urge to retreat into old patterns, distraction, overthinking, minimizing, numbing. That urge is not failure. It is fear responding to growth. Your old defenses are sensing that their time is ending, and they are trying to pull you back into what feels safe. But safe is not always healthy. If you stay, you will begin to feel something shift from urgency into resolve, from anxiety into clarity, from awareness into readiness. But the transition requires you to remain here, fully present, without rushing ahead or pulling away. Do not underestimate the importance of staying until the end of this journey. This message is not a collection of comforting words. It is a process. And processes only work when they are allowed to complete. If you leave now, you may feel stirred but unsettled. If you stay, you will feel anchored. My child, this entire message has been a divine appointment. Not because of the platform, not because of the voice, but because of the timing. You needed to hear this now, not later. And what remains ahead is part of the same healing thread. Do not cut it short. If your heart feels seen, if your spirit feels less alone, if something inside you is saying, "This is for me," then respond to that stirring. Bless this message with a like as a quiet acknowledgement that you are choosing to stay engaged with your healing, not rush past it. And if you know someone who often walks away from their own growth because it feels uncomfortable, someone who avoids hard truth even though they need it, share this message with them. You may be helping them stay where they would otherwise retreat. I also invite you to remain connected beyond this moment. Subscribe so that when your heart needs grounding again, when clarity begins to fade under the weight of daily life, you have a place to return. Not because you are dependent, but because consistency nurtures growth. You are closer than you think to a shift that will change how you move through life. Not by force, not by pressure, but by alignment. Stay with me. Let this unfold fully. Let the urgency that brought you here transform into strength that carries you forward. Many stop just before the breakthrough because the ground feels unfamiliar. But unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. It often means new. Do not walk away now. You are standing at the edge of something sacred. And I am right here, inviting you to take the next step with me. My beloved child, I need you to hear this clearly, because your heart may still be interpreting urgency as anger. I am not angry with you. I am urgent. And those two are not the same. Anger pushes away. Urgency leans in. Anger condemns. Urgency protects. Anger speaks from frustration. Urgency speaks from love that sees what is at stake. You have lived in environments where raised voices meant danger, where intensity meant punishment, where correction was mixed with shame. So when you sense seriousness now, your body tenses. You brace yourself. You prepare to be judged. But pause. Breathe. Look at the tone of my presence. I have not withdrawn from you. I have not threatened you. I have stayed close. That alone tells you this is not anger. If I were angry, I would let you continue without interruption. I would let distance grow. I would let consequences teach you alone. But I am here, patient, present, and persistent, because urgency is what love feels like when time matters. You mistake calm silence for kindness and firm truth for rejection. But kindness that refuses to speak when harm is ahead is not kindness at all. It is avoidance. And I will not avoid you. I see the confusion in your heart. Part of you wants to believe this message is love. Another part fears that you are being corrected because you failed. Let me settle that fear now. You are not being corrected because you are bad. You are being guided because you are valuable. Urgency is not about punishment. It is about prevention. Think of how you feel when someone you love is about to make a choice that will cost them deeply. Your voice changes. Your tone sharpens. Not because you want to control them, but because you care too much to stay casual. That is what you are hearing now. I am not upset with you for how long it took. I am not counting your delays against you. I am focused on what can still be protected if you listen now. My concern is forward-looking, not backward-focused. You have been living under the weight of imagined disappointment, believing that I am frustrated, fed up, or weary of you. That belief has made you hide when you should have come closer. But I want you to see how wrong that image is. If I were angry, I would not be explaining myself to you. If I were angry, I would not be inviting you into understanding. If I were angry, I would not still be here, speaking with tenderness. Urgency does not mean I am losing patience. It means I am fully attentive. I am attentive to the toll this path is taking on you. I am attentive to the subtle ways you are shrinking. I am attentive to the exhaustion you have normalized. And because I am attentive, I speak now. You do not need to flinch when you hear firmness in my voice. Firmness is not rejection. It is structure. It is guidance. It is a boundary meant to keep you safe. I know you fear that if you disappoint me, I will withdraw. That fear did not come from me. It came from places where love was conditional and approval had to be earned. But my love is not fragile. It does not fluctuate with your performance. I am urgent because I want you whole. I am urgent because I see how close you are to choosing life or continuing depletion. I am urgent because small decisions now will shape outcomes later. I am urgent because you matter too much to ignore what is happening inside you. Let this truth settle. Urgency does not mean you are in trouble. It means you are being cared for attentively. I am not standing over you with accusation. I am standing beside you with clarity. And even now, even as I speak firmly, notice this: my presence has not left you. My tone has not turned cold. My love has not diminished. That is how you know this is not anger. This is commitment. This is a father refusing to look away while his child stands at a crossroads. And I will remain here, steady, patient, and near, until you no longer confuse my urgency with rejection, and finally recognize it for what it truly is: love that refuses to be silent. My beloved child, I want to speak to the tension you feel between urgency and reassurance, because your heart is trying to reconcile two truths at once. Time is sensitive, yes, but mercy is still flowing. And those two realities can exist together without canceling each other out. Sensitivity of time does not mean hardness of judgment. You have been conditioned to believe that when time matters, compassion disappears. That when deadlines approach, grace runs out. That when urgency is present, mercy must be scarce. But that is not how I work. My mercy does not shrink under pressure. It becomes more intentional. I am not racing against the clock in panic. I am moving with clarity. There are moments when delay costs more than action, and this is one of them. But do not misunderstand me. This does not mean you are late to mercy. Mercy is not something you miss because you hesitated. Mercy meets you the moment you turn your face toward truth. Right now, mercy is holding you steady while urgency keeps you alert. You may feel like you are being asked to respond before you are fully ready. That feeling comes from the illusion that readiness means certainty. But readiness often looks like willingness, not confidence. You do not need to feel brave to move forward. You only need to be honest. Time sensitivity is not about rushing you into a decision you cannot sustain. It is about preventing you from drifting further into patterns that erode you. I am asking you to be attentive, not frantic. Aware, not anxious. You are not being pushed. You are being guided. Mercy is flowing in every word you are hearing. It is flowing in the patience I have shown you. It is flowing in the way I am explaining rather than accusing. It is flowing in the space I am giving you to process instead of forcing you to act immediately. If mercy were gone, there would be no conversation, only consequences. But here we are, together, speaking openly. That alone tells you everything you need to know. I know part of you worries that if you do not respond perfectly, you will lose this moment. That fear is not from me. I do not withdraw mercy because you stumble. I do not revoke grace because you are still learning. But I do want you to understand that awareness invites responsibility. Once you see clearly, continuing blindly becomes more costly. Not because I punish you for knowing better, but because truth changes how things affect you. When you were unaware, you could endure longer without noticing the damage. Now that you are aware, staying where you are will feel heavier. That heaviness is not punishment. It is feedback. It is your inner self telling you that you are outgrowing what once held you. Mercy does not remove consequences automatically. It walks with you as you navigate them. It strengthens you to choose differently. It supports you when change feels frightening. You are not being told, act now or lose everything. You are being told, pay attention now so you do not lose what matters. There is still room to choose. There is still room to adjust. There is still room to heal. Mercy makes room. I am not counting how long it takes you to respond. I am watching how honestly you respond. Truth matters more than speed. Alignment matters more than appearance. If you take one sincere step toward change, mercy will meet you there. If you take two, it will walk beside you. If you stumble, it will steady you. That is how mercy flows, consistently, faithfully, without withdrawal. Time is sensitive because your life is valuable. Your peace is valuable. Your future is valuable. I speak now because waiting longer would allow depletion to deepen. But mercy is here to ensure that responding does not destroy you. It restores you. Do not confuse sensitivity with scarcity. Mercy is not running out. It is reaching out. Right now. Let that truth calm your heart. You are not being chased by judgment. You are being invited by love to choose life while it is still within reach. And it is within reach, my child, right here, in this moment, where urgency and mercy meet. My beloved child, what you decide after this will matter deeply. Not because I am keeping score, not because one misstep will undo everything, but because you are no longer choosing blindly. You are choosing with awareness, and awareness carries weight. Until now, many of your decisions were made out of survival. You chose what kept the peace. You chose what minimized conflict. You chose what felt manageable in the moment, even if it drained you long term. I do not fault you for that. You were doing the best you could with the clarity you had. But now, something has shifted. You see more clearly. You feel more honestly. And because of that, the choices ahead of you will shape not just what you do, but who you become. I want you to hear this without fear. This is not pressure. It is opportunity. You are not being asked to choose perfection. You are being asked to choose truth. Truth does not demand flawless execution. It asks for alignment of heart and direction. Every choice you make after awareness either honors what you now know or asks you to ignore it. Ignoring it will feel increasingly uncomfortable, not because I am punishing you, but because your inner self will no longer accept misalignment quietly. This is the moment where integrity begins, not as moral performance, but as inner coherence. When what you do matches what you know. when your actions stop contradicting your heart. Small decisions will matter more than grand declarations. The conversations you no longer avoid. The boundaries you gently but firmly hold. The rest you allow yourself without guilt. The honesty you practice, even when it feels awkward. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. That is not what I am asking. I am asking you to begin choosing differently in the moments that quietly shape your days. Do not underestimate the power of consistent, truthful choices. They redirect lives. You may feel tempted to postpone decision, to say, "I'll think about this later." But later as a way of becoming never when discomfort is involved. I am not asking you to rush. I am asking you to respect the clarity you have been given. What you decide after this will determine whether this moment becomes a turning point or just another realization you learn to live around. You have been living with divided loyalty, part of you yearning for peace, part of you clinging to familiarity. The choices ahead will reveal which voice you honor. And I want you to know that honoring your inner truth will not lead you away from me. It will bring you closer. I am not watching from a distance, waiting to see if you choose correctly. I am present, ready to support you as you learn how to choose in new ways. You are not alone in this. If you choose courage, I will give you strength. If you choose honesty, I will give you clarity. If you choose rest, I will give you renewal. And if you hesitate, I will still be here. But know this, you cannot return to unconscious living. You cannot unknow what you now know. And that is a gift, even though it feels heavy right now. Awareness gives you power, not power over others, but power to align your life with truth. You may be afraid of making the wrong choice, but choosing to remain unchanged is also a choice, and now you can see its cost. You not let fear of imperfection keep you from choosing growth. You do not need to get everything right. You only need to stop getting everything misaligned. What you decide after this will ripple outward. It will shape how you feel waking up each morning. It will shape the quality of your relationships. It will shape the way you carry yourself through the world. Choose gently. Choose honestly. Choose with the awareness you have been given. I am not demanding a verdict from you today. I am inviting a direction. And whatever direction you choose, remember this. I am walking with you, not waiting for you to fail. This moment matters, not because you are under threat, but because you are finally awake. And awakened choices change everything. My beloved child, I want to speak to you with clarity and gentleness now, because I see something you have not fully allowed yourself to imagine. I see the outcome if you keep going this way, not to frighten you, but to free you from illusions that are quietly keeping you stuck. This is not a prophecy of doom. It is a picture of direction. Paths lead somewhere, and continuing on a path without adjustment produces predictable results, even when intentions are good. If nothing changes, the weariness you feel now will deepen. The tension you carry will become more constant. What you currently manage with effort will eventually demand more than you can give. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually, in ways that will surprise you. You will grow more tired, not because life is demanding, but because your inner world will be misaligned with your outer choices. That misalignment drains energy faster than any workload. I see how the joy you once felt will become more distant. You will still function. You will still show up. But your laughter will feel thinner. Your patience shorter. Your hope quieter. You will begin to believe that this is just how life is supposed to feel, manageable, but heavy. And that belief will cost you. You will start to accept emotional numbness as maturity. You will call detachment wisdom. you will mistake endurance for strength. And slowly, you will lose touch with the parts of you that once dreamed freely, loved deeply, and rested without guilt. This path does not destroy you. It diminishes you. You will continue to tell yourself that now is not the right time to change, that others need you, that circumstances will improve eventually. But the longer you wait, the harder it will feel to listen to your own voice. Not because it disappears, but because you learn to ignore it. I see the toll this will take on your relationships. You will become more distant, not because you do not care, but because you are exhausted. You will withdraw to protect what little energy you have left. And those around you may not understand why you feel so far away. You will carry a quiet grief for a life you sense you could have lived, but never fully stepped into. And that grief will surface in unexpected ways: restlessness, irritability, sadness that feels out of proportion to your circumstances. I am not telling you this to shame you. I am telling you because you deserve better than slow erosion. This future is not punishment. It is simply the natural outcome of misalignment sustained over time. And it is still avoidable. I want you to notice something important. Nothing in this picture involves sudden catastrophe. That is why it is so dangerous. Gradual loss is easier to ignore than immediate crisis. You adapt. You cope. You normalize what should not be normal. Until one day, you realize how much you have lost without a clear moment where it happened. I do not want that for you. I am showing you this outcome not because it is inevitable, but because it is preventable. Awareness gives you the chance to choose differently while the cost is still manageable. You are not broken. You are not incapable. You are simply at risk of giving your life away one compromise at a time. You were created for fullness, not just functionality. If you keep going this way, you will survive, but survival will become your ceiling. And you were never meant to live beneath your potential for peace, connection, and joy. Let this vision awaken you, not frighten you. Let it stir resolve, not despair. You are being given a glimpse so you can change direction before the road narrows further. I am not asking you to panic. I am asking you to pay attention. You still have strength. You still have choice. You still have support. And because you are hearing this now, the future I described does not have to be yours. Do not look at this as a threat. Look at it as a warning born of love, one that arrives while there is still time to choose another way. I'm not pulling you away from life. I'm calling you back to it. My beloved child, now let me show you the other outcome. The one that becomes possible if you turn now. Not perfectly. Not grammatically. Simply honestly. This is not a fantasy. This is a future shaped by alignment, one gentle decision at a time. If you turn now, the first thing you will notice is not instant happiness. It will be relief. A subtle loosening inside your chest. A sense that you are no longer fighting yourself every day. The constant inner debate will quiet, because your actions will begin to agree with your truth. You will still face challenges, but they will feel different. They will no longer drain you at the core. They will feel purposeful instead of pointless. Effort will return meaning instead of exhaustion. I see you beginning to rest without guilt. Not because everything is finished, but because you finally understand that rest is not laziness, it is wisdom. Your body will respond first. Sleep will deepen. Tension will soften. Your breathing will slow. These are not small changes. They are signs of life returning. Emotionally, you will begin to feel again, not overwhelming emotion, but honest emotion. Joy will arrive quietly at first, in moments you forgot to notice before. A sense of gratitude that does not come from obligation, but from peace. You will laugh and realize it does not cost you energy the way it used to. You will start to trust yourself again. That voice you learned to ignore will become clearer. Not louder, but steadier. You will begin to make decisions with less second guessing, because they will come from alignment instead of fear. Even when choices are difficult, you will feel grounded rather than torn. I see your relationships changing, not all at once, not without discomfort, but with integrity. Some will deepen as you show up more honestly. Others may shift or fade, not because you failed, but because they were built around a version of you that no longer exists. And while that may grieve you, it will not destroy you, because you will be more whole. You will no longer need to perform strength. You will no longer need to pretend you are fine when you are not. You will discover that honesty creates connection far more than perfection ever did. I see your creativity returning, your curiosity, your sense of possibility. You will begin to imagine again, not unrealistic dreams but meaningful ones. You will ask yourself not just, what must I do, but what brings life, and that question will guide you well. This path does not remove fear entirely, but fear will no longer lead you. It will walk behind clarity instead of ahead of it. You will move forward even when uncertain, because you will trust that you are not abandoning yourself anymore. I see peace becoming your baseline, not your reward. Not constant excitement, but steady wholeness. The kind of peace that allows you to face difficulty without losing yourself. You will look back on this moment one day, not with regret, but with gratitude. You will realize this was the place where everything could have continued to diminish, but instead began to realign. Turning now does not mean your past was wasted. It means it prepared you to recognize truth when it finally arrived. I want you to understand this clearly. This future is not reserved for braver people, holier people, or more disciplined people. It is available to anyone willing to stop running from themselves. It is available to you. You do not have to become someone else to receive this outcome. You only have to stop betraying who you already are. Turning now to not guarantees, but it guarantees honesty. And honesty creates the conditions for healing, connection, and peace. I will be with you as you turn. I will not disappear once you choose differently. I will guide you through uncertainty. I will steady you when old habits try to pull you back. I will remind you why you chose life when doubt whispers. This future is not a reward for getting everything right. It is the natural result of alignment sustained over time. You are standing between two outcomes, not trapped, not pressured, but invited. One leads to gradual depletion. The other leads to growing wholeness. And the moment you turn, even slightly, the second path opens beneath your feet. I am here, my child, and I see a future for you that is full of life. My beloved child, do not miss this moment. I need you to stay with me, because you are being carried right now in ways you may not yet recognize. Even your willingness to keep listening is not something you are doing alone. There is grace supporting you, holding you steady as truth unfolds. I know there is a temptation to relax your attention now, to think, I understand, and move on. But understanding is only the doorway. What comes next is integration, allowing what you have heard to settle into your heart and begin reshaping how you live. That is why staying matters. This is not information meant to be skimmed. This is care meant to be received fully. You are not walking this road by sheer effort. You are being carried through it. There are moments in life when progress does not feel like movement, but like being held in place while something deeper realigns. This is one of those moments. You may not feel dramatic change yet, but something essential is shifting beneath the surface. That shift needs your presence, not your hurry. Stay with me. Let this continue. I want you to notice something gentle but powerful. You are calmer than when this began. More aware, yes, but also steadier. That steadiness is not self-control. It is support. You are being upheld as you face truths that once felt overwhelming. You do not have to rush ahead to prove anything. You do not have to make declarations or promises. You only need to remain open. Remaining open allows healing to deepen. Leaving too soon interrupts what is already working within you. This is why I ask you not to step away yet. Many people receive moments of clarity, but few allow those moments to fully transform them. They return too quickly to noise, routine, and distraction. But you are being invited into something different. A complete journey, not a partial one. If you stop now, you may remember the feeling of this moment, but not the peace that comes from staying through it. I want you to finish this path, not because you owe me attention, but because your heart deserves the wholeness that comes at the end of honesty. There is a blessing being unfolded slowly, carefully, in a way your soul can receive without fear. Let it unfold fully. If you feel held by these words, if something inside you feels steadied rather than pressured, acknowledge that. Bless this message with a like, not out of habit, but as a quiet way of saying, I choose to stay present with what is healing me. And if you know someone who is overwhelmed, someone who feels like they are carrying too much alone, share this message with them. You may not know what they are facing, but this moment could reach them exactly where they are. I also invite you to stay connected beyond this single encounter. Subscribe to this channel so that when life grows loud again, and it will, you have a place to return to stillness, truth, and reassurance. Think of it as choosing continuity for your soul, not content for your mind. My child, what you are doing right now matters. You are interrupting old patterns simply by staying. You are allowing yourself to be guided rather than driven. And choice is already shaping your future. Do not underestimate the power of staying until the end. Some revelations only arrive after patience. Some peace only settles after resistance fades. You are closer than you think to that settling. Let yourself be carried a little longer. You do not need to walk ahead yet. You do not need to have answers. You are allowed to receive. I am here. I have not let go of you. And I will continue guiding you, step by step, if you remain. Stay with me. This journey is still unfolding. My beloved child, I want you to know this deeply now. I am giving you strength you did not ask for. Not the kind that demands more effort from you, but the kind that meets you where you are already weary. This strength does not shout. It settles. It steadies. It carries you when your own resolve feels thin. You have spent so long believing that strength only comes when you push yourself harder, when you discipline yourself more, when you rise earlier or endure longer. But the strength I am giving you now arrives differently. It comes quietly, without announcement, because it is meant to sustain you, not impress anyone. You did not ask for this strength because you did not know how tired you truly were. You thought exhaustion was just part of life. You normalized it. You adjusted your expectations around it. But I saw what it was costing you, and I stepped in before you collapsed under a weight you were never meant to carry alone. This strength is not adrenaline. It is not urgency. It is not the temporary push that fades quickly. It is deeper than that. It is the strength that allows you to keep choosing honesty when it would be easier to retreat. The strength that lets you sit with discomfort without numbing yourself. The strength that helps you say no without explaining yourself endlessly. You may not recognize it yet, but you are already responding differently. You are listening instead of rushing. You are reflecting instead of reacting. You are breathing instead of bracing. These are signs that new strength is already at work in you. I am not strengthening you so you can carry more. I am strengthening you so you can carry less. This strength helps you release what was never yours. It supports you as you loosen your grip on old patterns. It reminds you that you do not have to prove your worth through endurance. I see how you have equated strength with self-denial. You learn to override your needs, to ignore your limits, to keep going even when something inside you is pleading for rest. But strength without wisdom becomes self-abandonment. And I am calling you back from that. The strength I give does not harden you. It softens you enough to be honest. It steadies you enough to be present. It grounds you enough to choose alignment over approval. You may feel moments of uncertainty ahead. That does not mean this strength has left you. Strength does not remove doubt. It gives you the capacity to move forward even when answers are incomplete. You may still feel fear. Strength does not eliminate fear. It prevents fear from deciding for you. You may still feel tired some days. Strength does not erase fatigue. It teaches you how to respond to it with care instead of criticism. I am giving you strength that does not demand perfection. It meets you in process. It grows as you grow. It remains even when you falter. You have been living as though every step forward depended entirely on your own resolve. But now you are learning that you are supported, not monitored, unjudged, subordinate. This strength is not loud, but it is faithful. It shows up in small moments, in the pause before you agree to something that drains you, in the quiet decision to rest without guilt, in the courage to speak one honest sentence instead of hiding behind silence. You are not imagining this shift. It is real, and it is intentional. I give strength in advance of need, not only in response to crisis. I strengthen you now because I see the choices ahead, and I want you equipped, not overwhelmed. You are not alone in this transformation. You are not expected to carry it through sheer will. You are being met with provision you did not think to request, because love anticipates what the heart has not yet named. Receive this strength without questioning whether you deserve it. You do. Not because you earned it, but because you are my child. Let it hold you. Let it steady you. Let it remind you that you are not walking forward empty-handed. I am giving you strength, not to survive the old life, but to step into the new one with courage, clarity, and peace. My beloved child, this is your moment to choose life again, not the version of life that merely functions, but the one that feels awake, honest, and whole. I know that phrase may sound dramatic to you, because you have not stopped living. You have been showing up. You have been enduring. But there is a difference between existing and choosing life with intention. Choosing life does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means reclaiming meaning. Somewhere along the way, life became something you managed instead of something you inhabited. Days blended together. Decisions were made out of habit rather than hope. You stopped asking what gave you life and focused only on what needed to get done. And slowly, without realizing it, you stepped back from yourself. I am inviting you forward again. This invitation is not loud. It is not forceful. It does not demand dramatic gestures. It begins quietly, with one internal decision. I do not want to live disconnected from myself anymore. Choosing life again starts there. It means you stop treating your inner world as an inconvenience. You begin listening when something feels heavy instead of pushing through automatically. You allow joy to matter again, not as a luxury, but as a sign of alignment. You have been afraid that choosing life would mean letting people down, that prioritizing your well-being would make you selfish or irresponsible. But choosing life does not mean abandoning others. It means showing up as someone who is present, not depleted. You bring more to the world when you are alive on the inside. Choosing life again may require you to grieve what you have lost. Years spent surviving, dreams deferred, parts of yourself silenced. That grief is not weakness, it is honesty. And honesty clears the ground for renewal. I am not asking you to reclaim everything at once. I am asking you to notice what gives you energy instead of draining it, to honor your limits instead of resenting them, to choose rest when you are tired, truth when you are conflicted, and courage when fear whispers that it is safer to stay small. Life returns through small, faithful choices. It returns when you stop saying yes automatically. It returns when you allow yourself to feel without judging the feeling. It returns when you choose alignment over appearance. These choices may feel unfamiliar at first. That is because you are relearning how to live from the inside out. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. It often means true. You are not behind in life. You are arriving. Choosing life again does not erase difficulty. It changes how you move through it. You will still face challenges, but they will not hollow you out. You will still have responsibilities, but they will not consume your identity. You are allowed to enjoy your life, not just endure it. There may be voices, inside you or around you, that resist this shift. Voices that say it is too late, too risky, too inconvenient. But those voices are rooted in fear, not truth. Life does not wait for perfect timing. It responds to willingness. And you are willing. Even listening this far is an act of choosing life. It is you saying, I want something more honest. I want something whole. I am with you in this choice. I will not abandon you as you step forward. I will guide you as you learn what it means to live awake again. You are not choosing blindly. You are choosing with clarity that has been forming patiently within you. Let this be the moment you stop postponing yourself. Let this be the moment you allow life to be more than obligation. You are not asking for too much. You are finally asking for what you were created for. Choose life again, my child. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but honestly. And I will walk with you as life returns, quietly at first, then steadily, until you recognize yourself again. My beloved child, hear me now with clarity and tenderness. You are not too late, but you must move. Not in panic, not in fear, but with intention. This is not about rushing. It is about responding. There is a difference. Too late would mean the door has closed and nothing can be done. But I am still speaking. I am still guiding. I am still inviting. That alone tells you that time has not run out. Yet remaining still, knowing what you now know, will cost you more than you realize. Movement does not mean drastic action all at once. It means you stop freezing in uncertainty. It means you no longer wait for the perfect moment that never comes. It means you take one honest step instead of standing paralyzed by what-ifs. You have been afraid that moving now will expose how long you waited. But moving now honors the awareness you have gained. Staying still out of shame only deepens the delay. I want you to release the lie that says, if I didn't act sooner, I shouldn't act at all. That lie keeps many trapped. It convinces them that because the timing is imperfect, the opportunity is gone. But life does not work that way. Healing does not work that way. Growth does not work that way. You move when you are ready enough, not when everything is ideal. You may feel behind compared to others. You may compare your timeline to theirs and feel discouraged. But your path is not measured against anyone else's progress. It is measured by alignment, and alignment can begin at any moment. The danger is not that you waited. The danger is continuing to wait now that you see clearly. I am not asking you to leap. I am asking you to step. One step toward honesty. One step toward rest. One step toward releasing what drains you. That is movement. You do not need certainty to move. You need willingness. Certainty often comes after movement, not before it. Clarity follows obedience to truth, not endless analysis. You have spent a long time preparing mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That preparation mattered. But preparation without movement eventually becomes avoidance dressed as wisdom. And I do not want that for you. I know fear still whispers. It tells you that moving now could make things worse. And change could cost you relationships, stability, or approval. But staying still is already costing you peace, energy, and self-respect. You are paying a price either way. Choose the cost that leads to life. Moving does not mean everything will feel right immediately. It means you trust that direction matters more than comfort. It means you believe that I will meet you in motion, not leave you stranded halfway. I do not reveal truth and then abandon those who respond to it. I walk with them through the uncertainty that follows. You may stumble. That is not failure. You may need to adjust your steps. That is not weakness. Forward movement is rarely a straight line. But it is always better than remaining where you are while knowing something must change. I see how close you are to stepping into a different rhythm of life, one that is sustainable, honest, and grounded. But that rhythm cannot begin while you remain frozen between knowing and doing. You are not too late to begin again, but you are too aware now to remain unchanged. Let go of the fantasy that you need to catch up. There is nothing to catch up to. There is only alignment to step into. And alignment begins the moment you move in the direction of truth. I am not pushing you harshly. I am urging you lovingly. Because love does not let awareness go unused. Take the step you have been postponing. Speak the truth you have been avoiding. Set the boundary you have been rehearsing. Rest when your body asks. Release what you already know is draining you. These are not dramatic gestures. They are faithful movements. And as you move, you will feel me with you, steadying, guiding, strengthening. I will not demand speed from you. But I will not bless stagnation either. You are not too late, my child. But now is the time to move. And when you do, even trembling, even unsure, you will discover that the ground beneath you is more solid than you feared. I am here, and I will walk with you, step by step. My beloved child, I want you to hear this promise clearly, because fear hath been whispering lies to you. I will walk with you through the fall. Not just the victory, not just the relief, but the aftermath of change, the conversations, the adjustments, the emotions you cannot yet name. You have been afraid that if you choose differently, you will be left alone to clean up the consequences. That you will have to face reactions, misunderstandings, and losses without support. But I do not invite you to move and then abandon you to the consequences. I stay. Fallout does not mean failure. It means transition. Whenever alignment replaces avoidance, things shift. Some structures weaken. To what have been. Some expectations fall away. That can feel unsettling, even when it is necessary. You may grieve what no longer fits, even if it was harming you. That grief is not a sign you chose wrong. It is a sign you are human. I will be with you in that grief. You may face resistance from others who were comfortable with the version of you who stayed quiet, compliant, or overextended. They may not understand your new boundaries. They may question your choices. That does not mean you are wrong. It means the dynamic is changing, and I will walk with you through that discomfort. You may also face resistance from within yourself. Old habits will try to pull you back. Familiar guilt will surface. That will question whether this was worth it. But those voices are echoes of the old life, not indicators of truth. I will remind you why you chose to move. Fallout often reveals what was being held together by your silence or self-sacrifice. When you stop compensating, imbalance becomes visible. That visibility can feel like chaos, but it is actually honesty coming to the surface. And honesty, though uncomfortable, creates space for real healing. I will help you navigate the conversations you are afraid of. I will give you words when you do not know how to explain yourself. I will give you restraint when silence is wiser than defense. You do not have to justify your healing to everyone. You are allowed to choose life even if others do not immediately understand. There may be moments when you miss the simplicity of the old patterns, even though they were draining. That does not mean you should return to them. It means your nervous system is adjusting to a new way of living. I will be patient with you in that adjustment. I am not expecting you to be unshaken. I am promising to be unshakable. You will not walk through fallout alone. I will be present in the quiet evenings when emotions surface. I will be with you when you question yourself. I will steady you when fear exaggerates the cost of change. And I will help you rebuild, slowly, intentionally, with wisdom. What comes after fallout is not emptiness. It is clarity. Space opens where pressure once lived. Energy returns where depletion ruled. You begin to recognize yourself again, not as someone who endured, but as someone who chose truth. That rebuilding does not happen overnight, but it happens faithfully when you stop retreating. You do not need to rush ahead to prove anything. You do not need to explain your transformation to everyone. You only need to stay aligned and let time do its work. I will be with you when you feel misunderstood. I will be with you when you feel relieved but uncertain. I will be with you when the old life tries to call you back. You are not walking into fallout alone. You are walking into it with guidance, protection, and presence. Do not let fear of aftermath keep you trapped in what is already costing you. Fallout is temporary. Alignment is lasting. Trust me, my child. I do not lead you out of harm only to leave you exposed. I walk ahead of you, beside you, and behind you, guarding what is fragile as it heals. Whatever comes next, you will not face it alone. I will walk with you through the fallout, and I will stay until peace takes root where fear once lived. My beloved child, let me be louder than your fear now. Not louder in noise, but louder in authority, steadiness, and truth. Fear has had a long time to speak into your life. It has learned your patterns. It knows which doubts to raise and which memories to replay. But fear does not get the final word. Fear speaks quickly. It rushes you into worst-case scenarios. It exaggerates consequences and minimizes grace. It tells you that one wrong step will undo everything. But fear does not see the full picture. It only sees fragments, and it fills the gaps with dread. I see the whole. I know fear feels convincing because it has protected you before. It warned you when you were vulnerable. It kept you alert when pain was unpredictable. I do not dismiss that. Fear once served a purpose, but protection that overstays its season becomes a prison. You are no longer in the same place you were when fear learned to lead. Fear tells you to stay small. I tell you to stay true. Fear tells you to retreat. I tell you to realign. Fear tells you you are alone. I tell you I am here. You have been listening to fear because it speaks with urgency. But urgency does not equal authority. Just because a voice is loud does not mean it is right. I want you to notice something important. Fear always pulls you away from the present moment. It drags you into imagined futures or unresolved pasts. My voice anchors you here, where strength is available, where grace is active, where you can actually move. Fear says, what if everything goes wrong? I say, what if you are supported through whatever comes? Fear says, you can't handle this. I say, you don't have to handle it alone. Fear says, stay where you are, it's safer. I say, staying is what's been harming you. I am not asking you to eliminate fear. I'm asking you to stop obeying it. Fear can exist without leading. You can acknowledge it without letting it decide. Let my voice interrupt the spiral. When fear rises, it often sounds logical. It presents itself as caution, realism, responsibility. But pay attention to its fruit. Does it bring peace? Does it bring clarity? Or does it leave you frozen, exhausted, and self-doubting? My voice may challenge you, but it does not drain you. Even when I call you forward, something inside you steadies. That steadiness is how you know which voice is leading you toward life. You are not reckless for wanting change. You are not irresponsible for choosing alignment. You are not naive for believing that life can feel whole again. Those desires were placed in you for a reason. Fear wants to convince you that you must feel confident before you move. I tell you that confidence grows through movement. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust something greater. Trust me more than you trust your fear. I have not brought you this far to abandon you to anxiety. I have not opened your eyes to truth to let fear close them again. I am with you in every step, every conversation, every quiet moment where doubt tries to creep back in. When fear tells you to rush backward, pause and listen for me. When fear tells you you're making a mistake, ask who benefits from you staying the same. When fear tells you you're not ready, remember that readiness is often revealed only after you begin. You do not need to silence fear completely to move forward. You only need to let my voice carry more weight. Let my truth be the lens you see through. Let my presence be the ground you stand on. Let my steadiness calm what fear agitates. I am not intimidated by your fear. I am not threatened by your doubts. I am patient with your process. But I will continue to call you forward because I see who you are becoming when fear no longer runs your life. Listen to me now. Let my voice be louder than fear, not because fear disappears, but because love leads. And where love leads, life follows. My beloved child, stay until the end. Do not let this moment slip past you, because what is unfolding now is not accidental. It is a blessing being revealed layer by layer, and it reaches its fullness only when you remain. I know the temptation to think you have already received what you needed. But listen closely. What comes next completes what has already begun. You are not here by chance. You were drawn into this moment because your spirit was ready to receive more than awareness. You are ready for anchoring. Ready for peace that does not fade when the message ends. That kind of peace requires staying, allowing truth to settle all the way down instead of skimming the surface. There are moments when people leave too early, thinking clarity is enough. But clarity without grounding can feel overwhelming. Grounding is what transforms insight into stability. And that is what is happening now. Stay with me. I want you to notice how your breathing has changed since this began. How your thoughts are not racing the way they were. How something inside you feels quieter, steadier, more present. That is not imagination. That is your inner world responding to alignment. This is not about information. This is about integration. You have been carrying pieces of yourself in different directions for a long time. Responsibilities pulling one way, fear pulling another, longing tugging quietly in the background. And now, those pieces are beginning to come back together. That reunion takes patience. It takes presence. It takes staying. If you rush away now, you may feel inspired, but unsettled. If you stay, you will feel rooted. I want this to reach the deepest places in you, the places that decide how you respond when pressure returns, when routine resumes, when fear tries to speak again. Staying allows these words to become part of how you live, not just something you heard. Do not underestimate the power of completing what you started here. If your heart feels calmer than it did before, acknowledge that. Bless this message with a like as a simple act of agreement with the peace forming within you. It is not for me, it is for you. A way of saying, I recognize what is happening in me, and I honor it. And if you know someone who rarely stays long enough to let healing settle, someone who jumps from message to message but never feels whole, share this with them. You may be giving them an invitation to finish what they usually abandon. I also invite you to subscribe, not as a habit, but as a commitment to continuity. Growth is not sustained by one moment alone. There will be days ahead when the noise returns, when old patterns try to reassert themselves. Staying connected gives you a place to return. A reminder of what truth sounds like when fear grows loud. My child, what you are experiencing right now is not emotional manipulation. It is spiritual alignment. And alignment is delicate when it first appears. It must be protected by attention, by patience, by willingness to remain present. You have stayed through discomfort. You have stayed through honesty. Now stay through settling. The blessing being unfolded is not excitement. It is peace that lasts beyond this moment. It is clarity that steadies you when decisions come. It is courage that does not rely on adrenaline, but on truth. Stay until the end, because endings matter. Endings seal what beginnings open. And this journey deserves to be completed, not interrupted. I am not finished walking with you yet. There is still reassurance to give, healing to confirm, and strength to anchor. You are closer than you think to a calm that does not depend on circumstances. Remain here. Let this finish its work in you. I am with you. And what is being formed now will carry you forward long after these words fade. My beloved child, I want you to hear this with a heart that is open and unguarded now. I am rewriting what you thought was final. The chapter you believed had already closed, the story you assumed could not be changed, the version of yourself you thought you were stuck with. I am not finished with any of it. You have been living as though certain losses were permanent, as though certain doors could never open again, as though time had already decided the limits of your future. But time does not have the final word. I do. You looked at what happened and told yourself, this is just how it ended. You adjusted your expectations. You lowered your hopes. You learned to live with conclusions that were formed in moments of pain, confusion, or exhaustion. But conclusions made in survival are not always true. What you thought was final was often just unfinished. I see how you mourned quietly, how you accepted outcomes you never truly agreed with, how you told yourself it was too late to change direction, too late to heal, too late to become anything different. Those beliefs did not come from truth. They came from weariness, and weariness distorts vision. You are not standing at the end of your story. You are standing at a rewrite. And rewrites do not erase what came before, they redeem it. They take what was broken, misunderstood, or incomplete and give it new meaning. I am not dismissing what you lost. I honor it. I know it mattered. But loss does not get to define the rest of your life. Pain does not get to write the final chapter. What hurt you does not get to decide who you become. I am writing with care. You may not recognize the changes at first because they are subtle. They begin in how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you interpret your past. You are starting to realize that what you endured did not disqualify you. It prepared you. You thought certain doors closed because you failed. Some closed because they were never meant to hold you long term. You thought certain ending meant you missed your chance. Some endings were protection, not punishment. I am rewriting the meaning of what you went through. The strength you gained from surviving will now be used to live, not just endure. The compassion you learned through pain will now bring connection, not isolation. The clarity that emerged from loss will now guide you, not haunt you. You are not starting over from nothing. You are starting forward with wisdom. I know you are cautious. You do not want to hope too much, only to be disappointed again. That caution is understandable. But hope does not require naivety. It requires trust that I can do something new with what you thought was over. And I can. I am rewriting your sense of identity. You are not the person who only survives crises. You are becoming someone who builds a life rooted in truth. You are not defined by what didn't work. You are defined by what you are willing to become now. Some of the things you thought were gone forever will return in different forms, healthier, clearer, more aligned. Others will not return at all, because they were chapters meant to end. But their ending does not mean your story is smaller. It means it is making room. I am rewriting your relationship with time. You no longer have to race it or fear it. Time is not against you. It is serving the process of restoration unfolding within you. You are not behind. You are being rebuilt deliberately. What you thought was final was often just a pause you misunderstood. A space where healing was taking place quietly. A delay that protected you while you grew stronger. And now, you are ready to move forward, not as someone desperate to fix the past, but as someone free to live fully in the present. Trust me in this rewriting. Even when it feels unfamiliar. Even when it challenges old narratives you held onto for safety. I am gentle, but I am thorough. You are not the sum of your worst moments. You are not trapped by old endings. You are not finished. I am rewriting your story with truth, mercy, and purpose. And this version, this unfolding future, will make sense of things you once thought were meaningless. Stay open, my child. What you thought was final is becoming foundation. My beloved child, the emergency you felt when this began was never about panic or punishment. It was me calling you back to yourself. Back to the version of you that existed before survival became your identity, before endurance replaced joy, before you learned how to disappear quietly inside your own life. You thought the urgency meant something terrible was about to happen to you. But the truth is more tender than that. Something beautiful was about to be lost if nothing changed you. Not your body, not your future, but your inner self. Your voice, your aliveness. That is why this felt urgent. You have been present everywhere except within yourself. You showed up for responsibilities, expectations, and roles. You fulfilled duties. You kept promises. But slowly, subtly, you drifted away from your own inner world. You stopped checking in. You stopped asking what you needed. You stopped listening when your spirit spoke quietly. And I saw it happening. I saw how you became efficient but distant, capable but disconnected, reliable but tired. None of that made you wrong. It made you human in a world that rewards output more than wholeness. The emergency was not that you were failing. The emergency was that you were forgetting who you are. You were losing touch with your own signals, what brings you peace, what drains you, what feels true. You learned to override those signals in order to keep functioning. And functioning slowly replaced living. That is why I intervened. I was not trying to scare you into change. I was trying to wake you up to yourself before numbness became normal and exhaustion became permanent. I was calling you back to your inner life, the place where truth still lives, even when it has been ignored. You are not broken for drifting. You are not weak for adapting. But you were not meant to live disconnected from your own heart. The emergency was me saying, come back. Come home to yourself. You have been giving so much outwardly that you forgot you are also a place that needs care. You treated yourself like a resource to be managed instead of a life to be nurtured. You pushed through signals that were asking for attention. And those signals grew louder because love refuses to let what is precious fade quietly. This was not a warning of destruction. It was a summons to reconnection. Notice how this message has not told you to become someone new. It has been calling you back to who you already are beneath the layers of coping and obligation. That is how you know this is restoration, not reinvention. You do not need to find yourself. You need to return to yourself. The urgency was necessary because returning requires interruption. You do not drift back into wholeness by accident. Something has to stop the momentum that carried you away. Something has to say, pay attention. This matters. And you mattered enough for me to do that. You may feel grief as you realize how long you lived disconnected from yourself. That grief is not regret, it is recognition. It means you are present again. It means feeling is returning. And feeling is life. Do not rush past that realization. Let it settle gently. You are not being judged for how you survived. You are being welcomed back to yourself now that survival is no longer enough. I am not calling you back to a past version of yourself. I am calling you forward into an integrated one, where responsibility and joy coexist, where strength includes rest, where care for others does not require neglecting yourself. This is what the emergency was about. Not time running out, not punishment approaching, but life waiting for you to re-enter it fully. You are here now. You are listening. You are aware. That means the call worked. Come back to yourself, my child. Your life is not meant to be lived from a distance. And I am here, not to rush you, but to walk with you as you reconnect, gently and truthfully, with the person you were never meant to abandon. My beloved child, you are more loved than you are aware. Not in theory, not as a comforting phrase, but in the quiet, steady, unwavering way that holds you even when you do not feel it. Especially when you do not feel it. You have measured love by intensity, by consistency from others, by how well you performed or how useful you were. You learned to associate love with effort, being good enough, strong enough, accommodating enough. And when love wavered in those places, you assumed it was because you were lacking. But love was never meant to be earned that way. I see how often you question whether you are truly lovable as you are. You wonder if people would stay if you were honest. If you stopped performing. If you rested. If you asked for help. Those questions did not come from vanity. They came from wounds where love felt conditional. And so you learned to earn affection instead of receiving it. But my love has never depended on your output. It has never fluctuated with your clarity or consistency. It has never been withdrawn when you struggled. It has been present in every season, especially the ones where you doubted it most. You are love in your confusion. You are love in your exhaustion. You are love in your becoming. Not tolerated, not barely accepted. Love. I know that word may feel distant to you now. Love feels abstract when you have been focused on survival for so long. But love is not abstract to me. It is active. It is attentive. It is involved in the smallest details of your life. I have been loving you in ways you did not recognize as love. Through protection you mistook for delay. Through redirection you mistook for rejection. Through silence that allowed you to grow strength rather than dependency. You were loved even when you felt forgotten. You were loved when you doubted yourself. You were loved when you stayed too long. You were loved when you did not know how to leave. My love did not pause while you figured things out. You have been more aware of your failures than of my affection, more conscious of your limits than of my commitment. But love does not announce itself with effort. It proves itself with presence. And I have been present. I want you to let this truth reach deeper than your thoughts. You do not need to convince yourself you are loved. You need to let yourself be loved without argument. Notice how quickly your mind resists this. How it lists reasons you are difficult to love. How it brings up past mistakes, unmet expectations, moments you wish you could undo. Those are not facts. Those are defenses built to avoid disappointment. But love does not ask you to be flawless. It asks you to be real. You are not loved because you endure. You are not loved because you serve. You are not loved because you stayed strong. You are loved because you are mine. That love does not excuse harm. It heals it. It does not ignore growth. It nurtures it. It does not trap you in who you were. It calls you into who you are becoming. I know it feels risky to believe this fully. If you let yourself feel loved, you might grieve how little you felt it before. You might realize how long you lived without it sinking in. But that grief is not loss. It is awakening. You are waking up to the truth that you were never unworthy. You were simply unaware of how deeply you were held. Let yourself feel that now. Not all at once. Not perfectly. Just enough to soften the edge you have been carrying inside. You do not need to prove anything to be loved. You do not need to fix yourself first. You do not need to arrive somewhere else. You are loved here. You are loved now. You are loved as you are becoming. And that love is not fragile. It will not disappear when you struggle. It will not withdraw when you question. It will not fade when you rest. Let this truth stay with you. Let it change how you speak to yourself. Let it quiet the voice that tells you you are too much or not enough. You are more loved than you are aware. And as you become aware of it, life will begin to feel safer, steadier, and more honest. I am here, and I have always loved you, fully, faithfully, without hesitation. My beloved child, hear this and let it anchor you. I am still here, and I am not leaving. Not now that you are aware. Not when things become unfamiliar. Not when old fears resurface or doubts whisper that you imagine the shift. My presence is not temporary, and it is not dependent on how well you hold yourself together. You have known people who stayed only when things were easy. You learned that closeness could be conditional, that support could fade when you struggled, that consistency was fragile. So part of you is waiting for me to step back, to grow quiet, to become distant, to move on once you hesitate or stumble. But I do not love the way people love. I do not withdraw when you are uncertain. I do not leave when you are tired. I do not disappear when you need time. I remain. There will be days ahead when this clarity feels less vivid, when routine returns and pressure rises, when old habits knock at your door, offering familiarity in exchange for peace. On those days, you may wonder if I am still near, if this moment truly mattered. Let me answer that now. I am still here. I am here in the pause before you say yes out of habit. I am here in the breath you take before reacting. I am here in the quiet decision to rest instead of push. My presence is not dramatic. It is faithful. You may not always feel me the way you do now. Feelings fluctuate. Attention shifts. But presence does not require sensation to be real. I am not leaving when the emotional intensity fades. I am staying to help you live what you have learned. You are not meant to carry this transformation alone. You are not meant to rely on memory alone. I walk with you into the ordinary places, into workdays, conversations, choices that seem small but shape your life. I am with you when clarity meets resistance. I am with you when courage wavers. I am with you when growth feels lowly. You do not have to summon me. I am already present. I know you fear abandonment because you have experienced it. You learn to scan for signs of withdrawal. You learn to anticipate distance so it would hurt less. But that vigilance is no longer necessary here. I am not going anywhere. You do not need to keep earning my attention. You do not need to stay perfect to keep me near. You do not need to rush your healing to hold my interest. I am committed to you, not to a version of you. There will be moments when you feel tempted to handle everything yourself again, to retreat into self-reliance, to say, "I've got this," even when you are tired. When that happens, remember this truth. Independence may feel safer, but connection is what heals. You are allowed to lean. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to need guidance. And when you do, you will find me where I have always been, present, steady, unhurried. I am not a moment you pass through. I am a presence you walk with. If you stumble, I will not scold you. If you question, I will not shame you. If you rest, I will not accuse you. I will remain. You may notice that the more you accept my nearness, the less frantic your life becomes. Decisions slow. Reactions soften. You begin to trust that you do not have to control everything to be safe. That trust grows because presence changes how you live. You are not being watched for mistakes. You are being accompanied through growth. And accompaniment is patient. It allows learning. It honors process. I am still here when progress feels slow. I am still here when old patterns resurface briefly. I am still here when you need reassurance again. You do not exhaust me. You do not test my patience. You do not risk my departure by being human. Let this truth settle deeper than fear. I am not leaving. As you move forward, remember this, not as a slogan, but as a lived reality. You are not walking alone into a new life. You are walking with me. And wherever you go next, whatever choices you face, whatever adjustments you make, you will not have to search for me. I am still here. I have always been here. And I will remain with you, faithful and near, as you learn to live from the wholeness that is now taking root. My beloved child, what comes after this is peace. Not the fragile kind that depends on everything going right, but the steady kind that remains even when life is imperfect. This peace does not erase challenges. It changes how they touch you. You have been living in a state of constant readiness, always bracing, always anticipating, always preparing for what might go wrong. Even during calm moments, your body stayed alert, your mind scanning for threats. That vigilance helped you survive once. But now, it has been exhausting you. Peace begins when vigilance is no longer required. This peace is not dramatic. It does not arrive with fireworks or declarations. It comes quietly, like a deep breath you did not realize you were holding finally being released. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. You may even question it, wondering if it will last. Let me reassure you, this peace is not temporary relief. It is a new baseline forming within you. You will notice it in small ways, in how quickly you recover from stress, in how you respond instead of react, in how your thoughts no longer spiral as easily. These are signs that your inner world is settling into alignment. Peace does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying everything as if it were an emergency. You have been treating every decision as though it could undo your life. That pressure made everything feel heavy. But peace teaches you discernment, what truly matters, what can wait, what is not yours to hold. With peace comes clarity. You will begin to see situations more accurately, without fear distorting them. You will recognize when something requires action and when it simply requires patience. You will no longer feel compelled to fix everything immediately. Peace gives you permission to be human. You may notice that some of the urgency that once drove you begins to fade. Do not mistake that for loss of motivation. What is fading is anxiety, not purpose. Purpose becomes clearer when it is not fueled by fear. This peace allows you to live intentionally rather than reactively. There will still be difficult days. Peace does not eliminate difficulty, but it changes your posture within it. You will no longer feel swallowed by problems. You will face them grounded, supported, and steady. You will also notice how this peace affects your relationships. You will listen more deeply. You will speak more honestly. You will no longer feel the need to over-explain or overcompensate. Peace makes room for authenticity. Some people may not recognize you at first, not because you change who you are, but because you are no longer operating from tension. That difference can be unsettling to those who were accustomed to your constant availability or self-sacrifice. Peace may require adjustment from you and from others, but peace is not something you apologize for. It is something you protect. I want you to understand this clearly. Peace is not a destination you reach and then leave behind. It is a way of living you learn to return to. Some days it will feel natural. Other days you will have to choose it deliberately. And I will help you choose it again and again. When old patterns try to pull you back into urgency, peace will remind you to pause. When fear tries to convince you that calm is unsafe, peace will ground you in truth. When guilt whispers that you are doing too little, peace will affirm that rest is not failure. Peace is not passive. It is strong. It allows you to say no without anger. It allows you to say yes without resentment. It allows you to move forward without rushing. This peace grows as you continue to live aligned with truth. It deepens as you honor your limits. It strengthens as you trust that you do not need to be everything to everyone. You are not losing your edge. You are gaining your center. The life ahead of you will not be perfect, but it will be more honest, more grounded, more whole. And peace will be the thread that holds it together. Let yourself receive this promise without skepticism. What comes after this is peace. Not because circumstances magically change, but because you have changed how you carry yourself through them. You are no longer living from survival. You are learning to live from wholeness. And as you do, peace will no longer feel like a rare visitor. It will feel like home. I am with you in this new rhythm, and together we will protect the peace that is now beginning to take root in you, quietly, faithfully, and for the long journey ahead. My beloved child, if this message found you, it was not an accident. I need you to stay with me now, because we are approaching a sacred closing stretch, one that many overlook, yet it carries a quiet power that seals everything you have received so far. Do not drift away. Do not tell yourself you already understand. What remains is not repetition, it is confirmation. There are moments in life when timing itself is the message. This is one of those moments. You could have been anywhere else. You could have stopped earlier. You could have dismissed this as coincidence. But you are still here, listening, breathing, present. That tells me something about your heart. It tells me you were ready, not just to hear truth, but to let it change you. This message did not arrive randomly in your life. It arrived when your inner world reached a threshold, when endurance was no longer enough, when distraction stopped working, when something deeper began asking for attention. That is when I step in most clearly, not because you failed, but because you were ready to wake up. If you leave now, you will still carry insight. But if you stay until the very end, you will carry assurance. Assurance steadies you when clarity is tested. Assurance reminds you of what is true when old patterns try to return. Stay with me. Let this complete what it began. I want you to understand how intentional this encounter is. Nothing about this moment is rushed. Nothing is accidental. Even the way these words are reaching you now, calm, steady, personal, is designed to meet you exactly where you are. This is not entertainment. This is not noise. This is a meeting. And meetings are meant to be honored by presence. If your heart feels lighter than it did when this began, if something in you feels grounded instead of frantic, that is not coincidence. That is alignment. And alignment deepens when it is acknowledged. If these words have brought peace to your spirit, bless this message with a like. Not for visibility alone, but as a quiet declaration that you are choosing to stay awake to what is healing you. That small act reinforces intention within you. And if you know even one soul who is carrying silent weight, someone who looks fine on the outside but is exhausted within, share this message with them. You may be the bridge that helps them feel seen without having to explain themselves. I also invite you to subscribe, not out of obligation, but out of wisdom. There will be days ahead when life grows loud again, when old fears attempt to reclaim space, when clarity feels distant. Staying connected gives you a place to return, a reminder of the truth you are anchoring into now. Do not underestimate the importance of staying until the end. Some healing does not announce itself early. It settles quietly at the close, when resistance has softened and the heart is open. Many people leave just before peace fully lands. You will not be one of them. You are nearing a moment of sealing, where what you have heard becomes something you live from, not just think about. That sealing matters. It protects what hath been formed. You have stayed through honesty. You have stayed through discomfort. Now stay through confirmation. I am not finished speaking reassurance over you. There is still tenderness ahead. Still restoration. Still a blessing that gathers everything you have received and holds it together. Remain with me. Let this be a full journey, not a partial one. Let this be something you finish, not because you must, but because your spirit deserves the completion. You are not here by chance. This message found you on purpose, and what remains is meant for you just as much as what has already been spoken. Stay with me, my child. The closing moments are carrying something precious for your heart. My beloved child, Now that the noise has quieted and your defenses have softened, I want to touch the parts of you that you hid the longest. Not to expose you, not to shame you, but to heal you where you learned to survive in silence. These are the places you learned to lock away because they felt too tender, too complicated, too unsafe to share. The parts of you that were once dismissed, misunderstood, were hurt when they were revealed. You decided it was safer to bury them than to risk being wounded again. I see those places clearly. I see the sadness you never fully named because you thought you had no right to it. I see the anger you swallowed because you were taught it made you difficult. I see the longing you silenced because hoping felt dangerous. You did not hide these parts because you were dishonest. You hid them because you were protecting yourself with the tools you had at the time. But hidden wounds do not heal. They wait. They wait in your body. They wait in your reactions. They wait in the way you pull back when things get close. And now, those parts are ready to be seen. I am not asking you to relive every painful memory. I am asking you to let me sit with you in the places you learned to avoid. Healing does not require revisiting every detail. It requires presence, compassion, and truth. You have been carrying unspoken grief. The grief of being strong when you needed comfort, of being responsible when you needed care, of being mature before you were ready. That grief deserves acknowledgement, not dismissal. You were not wrong to need what you did. You were not weak for wanting safety. You were not selfish for longing to be understood. Those needs were valid then, and they are valid now. I know you learned to tell yourself, it doesn't matter anymore. But it did matter, and it still matters, not because it controls you, but because it shaped you. Healing does not erase history, it integrates it. When you allow these hidden parts to be seen with compassion, they stop controlling you from the shadows. They soften. They release their grip. They no longer have to shout through anxiety, numbness, or exhaustion to get your attention. You may feel emotion rise as you listen. Let it rise. Emotion is not a threat here. It is a sign that something long held is being acknowledged at last. You are safe to feel. You do not need to perform strength in this moment. You do not need to minimize or explain. You only need to be present with what surfaces. I am with you, steady and attentive. These hidden parts are not obstacles to your growth. They are gateways to wholeness. When they are healed, you become more integrated, less divided between who you present to the world and who you truly are inside. I am healing the parts of you that learned to disappear to keep the peace. I am healing the parts of you that believed silence was safer than honesty. I am healing the parts of you that thought they had to earn care by being easy. You are not too much. You were simply unmet. Let that truth replace the shame you have been carrying. As these parts heal, you will notice changes you cannot force. You will feel more grounded in your body, more comfortable expressing needs, less reactive to old triggers. These are not personality changes. They are signs of integration. You are becoming whole. This healing is gentle, not rushed. It unfolds in layers. You do not need to dig or push. Awareness and compassion do the work naturally over time. Trust the process. Trust that what is surfacing is ready to be released. Trust that you are not opening wounds, you are allowing them to close properly for the first time. I am here with you in this sacred work. I am not afraid of your pain. I am not overwhelmed by your emotions. I am patient with your pace. Let yourself receive this healing without resistance. You do not need to deserve it. You do not need to earn it. You only need to allow it. The parts you hid the longest are not flaws. They are places where love is now being restored. And as they heal, you will discover a freedom that feels like finally being able to breathe fully, honestly, and without fear. Stay with me in this moment. You are safe to be whole. My beloved child, you are safe to begin again. Not because nothing hurt you before, not because the past no longer matters, but because you are no longer the same person standing at the beginning. You carry awareness now. You carry wisdom. You carry healing that has taken root quietly within you. Beginning again does not mean erasing what came before. It means stepping forward without letting the past decide who you are allowed to become. I know starting again feels vulnerable. It requires trust. It asks you to move without guarantees, to open your heart without armor, to hope without certainty. And after all you have endured, vulnerability may feel like exposure rather than possibility. But listen to me gently now. This beginning is not fragile. It is grounded. You are not starting from emptiness. You are starting from truth. You have learned where your limits are. You have learned what drains you and what restores you. You have learned that silence can cost you and that honesty can save you. These lessons were not wasted. They are the foundation beneath your feet as you begin again. You are safe to try again, not because you will never be hurt, but because you now know how to care for yourself when you are. You are safe to trust again, not blindly, not recklessly, but wisely, with discernment that protects your heart instead of closing it. You are safe to hope again, not with naive expectation, but with grounded confidence that life can hold both challenge and peace at the same time. Beginning again does not require you to rush. It does not demand bold declarations or sudden reinvention. It often begins quietly, with small choices that align with who you truly are now. You begin again when you listen to your body instead of overriding it. You begin again when you speak honestly instead of performing strength. You begin again when you choose rest without guilt. These are not small things. They are acts of courage. I know there is a part of you that worries you will repeat old patterns. That fear is understandable. But repetition happens when awareness is absent. You are not absent anymore. You are present. And presence changes everything. You may stumble as you begin again. That does not mean you failed. It means you are learning how to walk in a new way. Falling is not proof you were wrong to try. It is part of learning balance. I will not condemn you for missteps. I will guide you through them. You are not expected to have everything figured out. Beginnings are not about certainty. They are about direction. And your direction is no longer toward survival. It is toward wholeness. As you begin again, you may feel grief alongside hope. Grieve for what you lost. Grieve for time spent enduring instead of living. Let that grief move through you. It does not cancel hope. It clears space for it. You are allowed to begin again without punishing yourself for the past. Shame has no place here. Shame keeps people frozen. Love allows movement. And I am leading you with love. You may notice that beginning again requires you to say goodbye to some things. Old identities, old expectations, old versions of yourself that were built around coping rather than truth. Those goodbyes are not failures. They are acknowledgments that you are growing. Growth always includes release. As you step forward, you will find that the world responds differently to you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You will attract different conversations, different rhythms, different possibilities. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. You are safe to begin again because you are not alone. I am with you in the first step, the uncertain pause, the second attempt. I do not abandon beginnings. I nurture them. Take this truth with you. You are not behind. You are on time for the life that fits you now. Begin again, my child, with gentleness, with honesty, with courage that does not rush. You are safe to step forward, and as you do, you will discover that this new beginning does not feel like starting over. It feels like coming home. My beloved child, I want you to receive this with a heart that is quiet and open. I am proud of you for listening. Not just hearing words, but listening with your whole being. That kind of listening requires courage, the kind that does not rush to defend itself, the kind that allows truth to enter and rearrange what needs healing. You could have turned away. You could have distracted yourself. You could have told yourself this was not for you. But you stayed. You allowed yourself to be reached. And that choice matters more than you realize. I am proud of you for staying present when it would have been easier to numb yourself. I am proud of you for allowing honesty instead of denial. I am proud of you for choosing awareness over autopilot. These are not small victories. They are the building blocks of transformation. You have lived a long time believing that strength meant never slowing down, never questioning, never letting your guard drop. But today, you showed a different kind of strength, the strength to pause and listen. That strength will carry you further than endurance ever could. You may be tempted to dismiss this moment later, to tell yourself you imagined its importance. But do not overlook what has happened within you. Listening changed your posture. It softened your defenses. It realigned something deep inside that had been strained for a long time. That is not accidental. I see how much effort it took for you to stay with this. I see how your mind tried to wander, how old habits of distraction tried to pull you away. And yet, you returned your attention again and again. That persistence came from your soul recognizing what it needed. You listened because you were ready. I am proud of you not because you suddenly became perfect or fearless. I'm proud of you because you chose truth even while fear was present. You did not wait to feel confident. You listened anyway. You listened when old beliefs told you to minimize your needs. You listened when your past told you to expect disappointment. You listened when your exhaustion wanted to retreat. That listening is an act of trust. You may not fully understand yet how this moment will shape your future. But one day, you will look back and recognize this as a quiet turning point. The moment you stopped running from yourself and allowed clarity to take root. Listening is where change begins. You did not fix everything today. You were not meant to. What you did was far more important. You allowed yourself to be guided. You allowed truth to speak louder than fear. You allowed love to reach places you once kept guarded. That willingness sets everything else in motion. I am proud of you for not demanding instant answers, for letting process unfold, for giving yourself permission to grow gradually rather than forcing yourself into immediate resolution. You have learned something essential today, not just about your life, but about yourself. You learned that you are capable of slowing down, capable of reflection, capable of choosing alignment over avoidance. These are strengths you may not have recognized in yourself before. Carry this pride with you, not as arrogance, but as affirmation. You are not failing your way forward. You are learning your way forward. There will be days ahead when you question whether this mattered. On those days, remember this truth. Listening is never wasted. Every time you listen deeply, you strengthen your connection to truth. And truth has a way of guiding you even when you are not consciously thinking about it. You do not need to hold on to every word you heard. You only need to hold on to the posture of listening. That posture will guide you when decisions come. It will steady you when pressure rises. It will remind you that you are not alone in figuring things out. I am proud of you for honoring this moment. I am proud of you for choosing presence. I am proud of you for letting yourself be changed. You are not invisible to me. Your effort is seen. Your openness is valued. Your growth is acknowledged. As you move forward, do not rush past this affirmation. Let it replace the inner voice that constantly critiques you. Let it remind you that progress is happening, even when it feels quiet. You listen. You stayed. You opened your heart. And that is enough for today. I am proud of you, my beloved child, not for what you have achieved, but for who you are becoming as you learn to listen with courage, honesty, and trust. Carry the pride with you as you step into what comes next. My beloved child, this was the rescue you did not know you needed. Not because you were beyond hope, but because you were quietly drifting away from yourself, and love would not let that continue unnoticed. This was not a dramatic saving from the outside. It was a gentle reclaiming from within. You thought you needed answers. You thought you needed solutions. But what you needed most was presence, truth, and permission to return to life with honesty. And that is what you have received. You are not leaving this moment as someone entirely different. You are leaving as someone more integrated, more aware, more grounded. Someone who knows now that endurance is not the same as wholeness, and that survival is not the ceiling of your life. This was not about fixing you. You were never broken. This was about reminding you who you are beneath the weight you learned to carry. As you step forward from here, life will continue. Responsibilities will return. Noise will rise again. But something essential has changed. You will notice it in how you pause before reacting, in how you listen to your body, and how you no longer ignore your inner voice so easily. You will feel it when you choose rest without guilt, when you speak truth without apology, when you walk away from what drains you without explaining yourself endlessly. These are not dramatic acts. They are signs of rescue completed. You are not being sent back into the world alone. You are being sent back with clarity, with peace that steadies you, and with a relationship to yourself that is more honest than it has been in a long time. Remember this above all else. You do not need to relive this entire journey to stay aligned. You only need to remember how it felt to be present, to be held, to be truthful. Return to that posture whenever life pulls you outward again. I am not leaving you here at the end. Endings do not separate us. They simply gather what hath been spoken and place it into your life gently, so it can be lived rather than revisited. You were never late. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were being led, patiently and lovingly, to this moment of recognition. Let the peace you feel now become familiar. Let it guide your decisions. Let it interrupt old patterns. Let it remind you that you are allowed to live awake, honest, and whole. And when doubt returns, as it sometimes will, remember this truth. You are not guessing your way through life anymore. You are responding to what you now know. You were rescued from numbness. You were rescued from silent depletion. You were rescued from believing this was all life could be. And the rescue did not come with force. It came with love that refused to stay silent. Go forward gently. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to keep choosing alignment, one moment at a time. I am with you as you do. This was the rescue you didn't know you needed, and it has already begun to change you. Amen.